Live tonight, Architects of Humanity, Civilization or Cult of Death? Which one do we live in? People say it's a civilization, but I still haven't seen one since I was a child. Since I understood the definition of a civilization, I have not seen one on planet Earth. We have these so called modern governments that more equate to being called a cult of death, monstrosities. That's what it is. And that's why I labeled the title of the stream Civilization or Cult of Death, to let people choose which one they think it is by definition. Now we know most of the population are brain dead on planet Earth. This asylum that people call existence is something very, very mysterious. So I decided to go through some stuff about bioterrorism, math pathogen incidents throughout the United States of asylums, basically. Now, in May 2018, at Fort Detrick, Maryland, a biological waste storage, tanks filled at the U.S. Army Medical Research Institute for Infectious Diseases. Get that, right? USA MRID. So it's like, just the name of that, the U.S. Army Medical Research Institute of Infectious Diseases, right? So some waste storage tanks failed at this research facility, flooding a basement. Now, the tanks contained wastewater from labs handling high threat, not medium, not low threat, but high threat pathogens, including anthrax and Ebola. Now, there is a microbiologist. She used to work, I forgot her, Judy. Oh man, what was her last name? Judy, man. But she worked on a lot of these pathogens and said, according to her, that Ebola at that time, when the natural version of it could only infect bats, and they tinkered with it until it could jump across different types of organisms to stay within YouTube guidelines. This is why I'm speaking this way, but anybody can look up the research on this. Judy Vorkowitz or something like that was her name. She was on the Danny Jones podcast. She was on a 5-year gag order where she couldn't even speak about it on some of the research she did, but finally it's up and she's talking and she's letting people know the cult of death that we basically live in, disguised as a civilization. That's just the way evolutionists will disguise as scientists. Meanwhile, they are basically preachers that preach their rhetoric in these churches disguised as universities. We see they do this in a cult of death disguised as a civilization. And I say this to let people know, maybe if they decide to think, they can discern for themselves, according to definition, what this is that we live within. Oh, thank you so much, Medi. Judy Jankowitz, thank you so much. Medi to the rescue. Always, man. That was a cool one. Judy Jankowitz, she is the microbiologist, researcher, viral specialist that did an interview with Danny Jones. I'm pretty sure she had a few others out there. I forgot with who, but I remember seeing them before the Danny Jones podcast. He has a lot of different guests. Seems like a pretty cool interview guy. A lot better than Lex Frankenstein and some of the other guys. I see people criticizing them hard. And Lex might be a cool guy, but he does have that kind of Frankensteinish thing to him, the way he he asks questions, just like if they just revived him from the dead. He's like, yeah, well, But Judy Jankowitz, thank goodness. This lady, I gotta, she really did her stuff, man, by coming out and saying that. And Medi, thank you for that. But as we go and we look at this cult of death disguised as a civilization, we see that in Fort Detrick, Maryland, there was a spill of these high threat pathogens, right? And of course, they're going to say while officials reported no pathogens were detected in the local water systems, of course they're going to say that. How could you ever believe the government? If you believe the government, or if anybody you know that believes the government, you have to remember they are not just stupid, they are dangerously stupid without knowing, without malice, with usually good intent. They will tell the government about you thinking that they're helping you. This is the majority of zombified citizens. Just look at them with the political sides. I mean, as bad as somebody might think the Democrats or the Republicans, whichever side they side with, whichever one side is, the other side will say, hold my beer. And we see it happening today. I mean, this is like on another level of what you have in this cult of death. The Bone House, that's what I should call it, instead of the White House, the skull and bone type of the death house, the house of death. That's what it is, the house of lies. That's what the White House is, the house of lies. I think it's how her name is spelled. Yeah, I think that's it. I think Janowitz or Jankowitz. I remember there was a chess player, Janowitz or something like that. But Judy Jankowitz, thank goodness that she came out and talked about that, because that is a genetic pollution. That's a genetic weapon. They have like in 2 volts, I think it was Wisconsin, and there's a volt in Germany with a strain of polio that's extremely dangerous. And I think there was a laboratory accident in Germany that ended 9 or 12 scientists with the outbreak, like right out of Resident Evil. And that's all they're telling us. So probably was a lot more. But as we go forward into some of these spills that officials reported that didn't get into the local water systems, but it led to a temporary shutdown of the facility's research operations. Wow. But if we go from 2018 back 9 years to 2009 at the University of Chicago, and I say these incidences because it lines up with the definition of a cult of death that we live in. Why would they be doing this? I mean, we wouldn't know about this until it's spilled, and some of it we don't ever know about until we do our own research. But a prominent researcher, Malcolm Kazataban, he died from an accidental laboratory exposure to an unattenuated strain of Yersinia pestis. This is the bacterium that causes the plague. So the fact that they're still doing stuff with this should raise an eyebrow. So that happened in 2009. And now between 2000 and 2021, so you're looking at a 21-year stretch, a comprehensive study of lab biosafety incidents noted over 300 lab-acquired infections and 16 pathogen lab escapes across the US and globally during this period, though most were contained within the facilities, if you believe that. Now, the fact that these biosafety incidents noted over 300 lab-acquired infections that escaped across the US, somehow escaped. Now, it's a touchy word there, because now if we're thinking, we'll say, well, did it escape or was it released? Was it negligence? Was it malice, stupidity, purpose, But these are just some of the things. These are just 3 incidences that I mentioned, 3 incidences of the cult of death, of what they push out there on the unknowing denizens, because I can't even really say we're citizens anymore. We're just inhabitants. We ain't even a citizen at this point. I don't think we ever were. If somebody thinks they were, then they believe what the oppressors say. Every year, right? And this is something that people should try to remember every year, right? There's reports of biohazard and eth- uh, etiological spills. So these biohazards and these etiological spills in transit or at the clinical research facilities. So now uh, there are reports of this every year. So whether in transit, now imagine that. If it's in transit, now you got some serious stuff going on. Look at what happened in East Palestine, Ohio, a few years back. And they ignited it. The worst possible thing that most people think they could have done to make a plume of, I mean, it was just like pollution on another level. And magically, everybody forgot about that. Magically, everybody forgot about that. And, you know, Trump and Biden, hand in hand, they try to, instead of saying, well, why didn't Biden put back on the regulations for the trains to have the stop at certain intervals and for checks? They said Trump removed that. This is why I just look at all politicians as the same devil in office. That's basically what it is. I'm not religious, but for the people who would understand that lingo, demons, devils, monsters, whatever they want to call it. But the action fits the what we're defining them as. So with these other agents, these other ideological agents that occur, triggers an immediate response from local hazardous materials, the hazmat teams, and must be reported to the federal national response unless they get an order from the military or higher up. This is the things that I talk about where you can prevent yourself from being pulled back into fantasy island by believing everything they say. When you train your mind and stay in a state of awareness, you start to look through this stuff. You cut through it like butter, you know, you cut through it like a hot knife cuts through butter. Clean, easy, without a doubt. Spreading it like, you know, two halves of the so-called Red Sea. So we have the chemical hazard spills that have been seen, notable trends in the 21st century, incidents involving untreated industrial wastewater. Now, we know that these data centers are doing a number on that as well. Oil, toxic chemicals, they raise alarm. They frequently raise alarm and demand environmental cleanup. But hey, you know what? There has been a cut to the Environmental Protection Agency's funding. Now, according to Tronald Dump, that they can pollute coal plants and stuff can throw into the water system the arsenic and the other chemicals, the leads and different things that normally they couldn't, the mercury, you know, the stuff that causes some serious problems, birth defects. Then people wonder why their kids are so messed up. You know, atrazine in the water, and they wonder why, what's going on in the minds of their children's where they can't even identify as something as simple as a man or a woman or a male or a female. And this is nothing against anybody that wants to identify as something different. But wouldn't you think there's some type of connection there? They're spraying the water that changes the, spraying the land, the corn, and corn is in almost everything, with atrazine, which runs into the water, which is seen to change female and male frogs, male frogs specifically into females, and then other males breed with them, and so forth. So we see a lot of these different things happening, but nobody's connecting the dots with this. So the incidents involving untreated industrial wastewater, right, that frequently requires this environmental cleanup is just not there, and it's not happening. The cleanup is not happening. So what are we living in? We're living in a cult of death. This is not a civilization. This is a technological cult of death, or a cult of death with technology, because not all of us have super high-tech stuff. And that's the craziest thing. We have a chance to experience this existence and look at the beauty of nature and what is happening to it. What is happening to it? This could be a paradise with the knowledge and stuff we have, but for some reason it's not. I think I spoke of before Monkey Island. I don't know if a lot of people know about Monkey Island. They should, especially if they live in the U.S., in Beaufort County, South Carolina, right? So it's just north of Beaufort, right? Strictly off limits to the public to protect its famous colony of approximately 3,500 free-ranging rhesus macaques. Now, the origin of the colony, it was established in 1979 after monkeys were relocated from Puerto Rico following an outbreak of disease. Well, what do you know? Making it an ideal secluded habitat for biomedical research. Right? It's like bringing this out to South Carolina. Don't worry. We've been doing research on the people there for the longest anyway. So this is just another monkey on the list. That's it, right? According to the evolutionists, basically. Current status, right? The island, and don't think that these monkeys didn't escape from that island too. Remember, laws of stupidity. That's what it is. You got some guy on there that messed up and let those monkeys out. And they were out there running, but hey, who cares, man? Super Bowl is on, right? They could watch ball chasers or the Knicks, all of that stuff. The fixed games, in my opinion. The fixed fights, the circus, the carnival, called civilization. This carnival called civilization. That's what it is. It's not a civilization. It's a circus. So the current status, right? The island is managed by the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources. The land itself is owned by the state or was stolen by the state, as we know. When we speak proper words, it keeps us in reality. Remember, everything the state says is a lie. Everything it has stolen. Friedrich Nietzsche. So while the monkeys are federally owned, wow, they're just owning stuff, man. If that don't give you a clue of the cult of death, I don't know what will. So the so-called, they're enslaved basically by the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, NIAID, right? NIAID, NIAID. So, on South Carolina, there is research going on, experiments basically, for allergy and infectious diseases. And then you wonder why everybody, like mostly, have these allergies and stuff like that. Could it be some type of link there? No, definitely not, right? Yeah, okay. So visiting restrictions, because the monkeys carry diseases like herpes B and the island is protected. It's a protected research facility. Public landing, trespassing, unauthorized boating are strictly prohibited and illegal. But hey, drugs are illegal. That don't stop people from engaging in that. Discrimination is illegal, but that's happened on a daily basis. And just like drug use on many times a day. So I don't think people are really caring about these unauthorized things that are being prohibited, the boating and the public landings. I doubt that very much. And this is how you get these outbreaks. So since they say you cannot set foot on the island, the only legal and safe way is to catch a glimpse of the monkeys is from the water. So boat tours, several local charter companies operating out of Beaufort, and the Hilton Head Island, right? Great place for a resort. Or for eco tours, right? Of these diseased monkeys. This is crazy, man. What won't Americans do, right? What won't Westerners do? And we're all Westerners, man. We're all subject to this. Remember, ignorance has no prejudice. Ignorance has no prejudice. Doesn't care what gender, creed, whatever you are, age. It'll grab you. It'll grab hold of that mind. And ignorance has no prejudice. So you can glimpse these monkeys from the water in one of these boat tours, right? Nearby Beaufort and, Hilton Head Island, uh, with binoculars, right? Uh, it cruises past the Morgan Island, the shores, allowing you to view the monkeys with binoculars. Kayaking, if you're just, if you want another level of insanity, if you want to notch it up a bit, experienced paddlers, they can launch kayaks from nearby mainland landings to navigate the surroundings, the creeks, the waterways, right? Which I just don't see why somebody would want to do that. I just don't realize why somebody would want to do that. Why would they want to investigate an island where research is being conducted on infected monkeys that could easily escaped, have escaped, were brought to South Carolina because of escape problems in on the tropical island that they came from, that they were brought from, because there was research being done over there when we think about that. But when I look at like, let's just say the chemical spills, when I was talking about the incidents that were happening across the United States, the transport accidents and stuff like that. I'll go back into that now, because that is part of the cult of death. I mean, the experiments on the monkeys, that's clearly cult of deathish. And remember, those experiments are being done on you and I on a daily basis, whether you know it or not. The food we eat, the air we breathe, the land we stand on, the water we swim in, if we decide to swim in that water. Remember, flesh-eating disease is in American waters. It's definitely around the world, but I mean, how do you get something like that, right? It's from the overgrowth of algae that comes from what? Dumping stuff into the water. Cult of death. There is no such thing as Western civilization. It is a cult of death. And it's technological. We do have technology, but what do we use it for? To destroy the same thing that gives us life. That's insane. Since 2000, the United States have experienced several severe chemical releases, refinery explosions, combustible dust disasters. And these are much more serious than you would think. A dust disaster is serious. And high profile transport spills, notably the one from East Palestine, in Ohio, the train traveling through there. According to data tracked by the U.S. Chemical Safety Board, right, the CSB, wow, that sounds safe. Chemical accidents happen with alarming frequency. Now, this is something you would have an American idiot usually say, well, that doesn't happen too often there, boy. Well, yes, it does. Yes, it does, sir. It happens with alarming frequency. But you don't see that because you're an idiot. And I say this as a description, not as an insult, because I've told people before, what, I'm the only one that can be stupid and idiot and ignorant and stuff like that? No, it has no prejudice. It can, matter of fact, the people that don't think that they can be those things usually are the ones that have been infected by them the most. So this is when somebody says, well, that doesn't happen. No, chemical accidents happen with alarming frequency, varying from localized factory pipeline failures to catastrophic events requiring mass regional evacuations. Now, imagine if something like that happens, to where you have to be evacuated because of something the government did, because of something some criminals in the cult of death did. And that has happened. If anybody looks up Love Canal is Death Cult 101. They built a neighborhood, they built a town on a toxic waste site. I mean, this is just, and this happened decades ago. Nobody remembers that. Nobody cares. Nobody cares, man. Apathy is at a very high, all-time high, basically. And it keeps getting higher. But as we go deeper and we start to look at some of the chemical industrial incidents in the US just through the last 25, 26 years, right? We have the major refinery and chemical plant explosions. And, I say this because I want people to realize I'm not just going to call it a cult of death and say, well, why do you call it a cult of death? Well, this is why. These things are dangerous. And, would you want your kids to grow up around this? Well, I shouldn't ask that because most people don't care. But the BP Texas refinery explosion in 2005, I don't know if people know about this, but they probably know who played in the Super Bowl that year. One of the worst industrial disasters in modern U.S. history. Hydrocarbon vapors ignited during the startup of an isomerization unit, killing 15 workers off the bat and injuring more than 180 others. But, hey, if it doesn't bother you, right? Who cares, right? Unless it comes to you, who cares, man? Nobody cares. Exactly. You Gotta Laugh podcast, my brother. Salute. Always a pleasure, bro. Check out his channel, man. He's got some good stuff. Definitely. So, matter of fact, I did an interview with him about time. It's linked on the bottom of this page. It'll bring you right over to his page with all of his videos too. Good to see you, brother. Yeah, man. Nobody cares, man. No, they're like, yo, the Jets were playing. They can remember in 2005. They don't know about the BP Texas City refinery explosion, but they might know who was in the NBA playoffs. I'm pretty sure you got some ball chasers that are like, yeah, well, that's, that was the year I collected a shirt from another man for my son to wear. I like to collect these shirts that other men wear to kind of influence my son to watch ball chasers the way I grew him up to. This is the mentality of denizens in the cult of death called Western civilization, disguising as a civilization. So these hydrocarbon vapors that ignited, that was what ended a lot of these workers. And then the West Fertilizer Company explosion, not even 8 years later, 2013, an intense fire at a storage facility in West Texas. What do you know? Texas again. What is going on with Texas? Triggered the massive detonation of approximately 30 tons of ammonium nitrate. Look at that. Killed 14 people, most first responders, mostly. So they're like, hey, you know what? I'll be the first one to respond to that. And 14 of them, right? Done. Injured hundreds and leveled nearby homes. So imagine having a home that somebody is in that gets leveled because one of these nutcases from the cult of death, one of these companies that own it, are skimping on safety regulations or don't even care. Why would you even want to? People live next to these things and, it's just so sad because most people don't have a choice. It's crazy. Alexis, good to see you. Who can we trust in the government? The firefighters, the chemical government researchers. You can only trust people in the government that go against the government. Firefighters that will talk about the corruption in there, those are the ones you can listen to. Hey, the only good cop is the cop that lets you go. That's the way I look at it. So the firefighter, the chemical government researchers that are willing to break the rules, then yeah, that part. But other than that, I wouldn't trust anybody, man. Just observe, brother. That's all we can do, Alexis. You Gotta Laugh says the Knicks are in the finals. Yeah, I heard, people. Matter of fact, Zach Hubbard, the guy that got the Channel Numbers game, really cool dude. He did one yesterday, the day before, about the Knicks, about it being like it's like all a fixed, it's like a staged, it's just another circus event, the more circus events that are staged. And, people definitely won't know about these explosions, these spills, intentional or not, done by the cult of death. But they know the circus acts. They're like, hey, that was the year of Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey. So the Accurate Energetic Systems explosion of 2025, just a year ago, an explosive manufacturing facility in McEwen, Tennessee, suffered a catastrophic detonation. So now you're dealing with 24 to 28,000 pounds of explosives, and the blast resulted in 16 fatalities and severe property destruction. Once again, somebody living close to that, and then this happens, and they're like, "Hey, you know what? I mean, if that ain't the definition of being punked, what is?" The government got everybody punked. What was one of those musicians said? The government are the pimps, man, and we're all the hoes. That's basically what it is. And to know that is power. Why do people go off? Why do people off each other and go to war for which ball chasing teams wins? Yeah, man. They off each other and go to war for their ball chasing team because it seems that it implants a type of mental psychosis. Like recently, there was the guy that I think it was a Monday night football game. His team lost. He offed his wife, tried to off his stepdaughter, and then he offed himself during the football. I mean, who knows? Who knows? Maybe he bet money on it, whatever. But still, these circus games cause mental problems. I mean, the guy will never mature into a man because he's watching ball chasers, basically. And everybody has their little pet peeve. We all have our little steam vents. Mr. X was even saying he'll watch some football chasers, stuff like that. Everybody has a little bit of, you might look at a statistic for a martial arts fight, a boxing match, a sports game. This is how refined the mind control systems are in the cult of death called the United States of American civilization. But we know what it is. If you think, oh no, this is a cult of death, masterfully disguised as a civilization. And only the people who really think, who really can speculate and observe and reflect back on their experiences that they've had throughout the decades with this monster called a country, they can start to see. They'll pull the curtain back and see the Wizard of Oz that hides behind the curtain, saying, "Here, oh, you found me? Here's a piece of paper to say that you're smart, and a badge to say that you have courage, and a fake heart." And it's hilarious, man. That movie is deep, though. But the weather triggered and environmental releases. So we have stuff like that. The Deepwater Horizon oil spill of 2010. It was an explosion. So an offshore drilling rig killed 11 workers, ruptured a deep sea well, leaking nearly 5 million barrels of crude oil into the Gulf of Mexico. They don't like to talk about that. And that happened 16 years ago, 2010. It remains the largest marine oil spill in U.S. history. Nobody goes to jail for that. That's the craziest thing. You pollute something, forget it. They're going to be crawling up you with a microscope. This happens, they put it on the news and got everyone punked so hard, they know nothing's happening. They're like, listen, we telling you this because you a sucker and you ain't going to do nothing about it. And we want to distract you from something else worse that's probably happened. So that's the main, right? To say, look at this. So Biolab, Lake Charles chemical fire in 2020, right? 6 years ago during Hurricane Laura, severe structural damage to a facility in Westlake, Louisiana, right? Triggered an uncontrolled decomposition of trichloro, and this is a tough one, trichloroisocyanuric acid. Wow, that is holy. Who makes these things up, man? Trichloroisocyanuric acid. Wow. releasing a massive toxic plume of chlorine gas into the surrounding region. I want to look that word up, but I'm too lazy right now to look it up. Just, hey, at least I can admit it. But so that released a massive toxic plume in the surrounding region of Westlake, Louisiana. Nothing else to be said about it. You see, you don't get the whole story, but you get a little bit to say, yeah, this is clearly a cult of death. This is not a civilization. And that's why I titled it Civilization or Cult of Death. Or Cult of Death. So the combustible, as we spoke about earlier, dust explosions. And these are a lot more serious than people think they are. These dust explosions ain't no joke. And this ain't angel dust. This is chemical dust. Well, they're both chemical dust, but this one ain't going to get you high or whatever. But I wouldn't recommend trying any of them. So the Imperial Sugar Refinery explosion of 2008, and sugar and powder like flour and stuff can be combustible. The microscopic and the extremely small particles, they have igniting capabilities. So ongoing accumulation of highly combustible sugar dust, just like I said, fueled a massive chain reaction explosion at a facility in Port Wentworth, Georgia. The disaster killed 14 workers and injured 40 others. And that's at a sugar refinery. So these are things, people, I don't see why high school kids wouldn't be interested in understanding that, wow, sugar, there was an explosion in 2008, and, to let you know just how dangerous sugar can be, because it can be combustible to cause explosions. I think that's a fascinating fact to know. Didon or Didion milling plant explosion of 2017, so about 9 years ago. Combustible corn dust. And this is, so now when we look at this, and this is like what I was saying, in flour, certain dust, certain size particulates of dust can ignite. This is important to know. I think there's stories of it happen in kitchens, much less plants and refineries. So the combustible corn dust ignited inside processing equipment in Cambria, Wisconsin, causing secondary explosions that killed 5 employees and injured 14. So those are just some of the combustible dust explosions. Then you have the high-profile transport and recent incidents. Now, if this wasn't a cult of death, we wouldn't have all of this problem. And then I think there was the laws. The Republicans were just voting to, and this is just, well, the politicians, I should put it that way, because whether it's right or left, it's the same crap, same bird, different wings. But they were voting to tax people who make $30,000 and less more. That's insane. To say billionaires deserve tax cuts, and you're going to tax somebody making less than 30 grand a year more than what they're already being taxed, that's a cult of death. That's monsters. This is why I made the thumbnail the way I did, because you're dealing with monsters. You're dealing with people that are not people. They're these, I don't know what to call them. I mean, this is scary. This is creepy. This is monster movie stuff. This is why I made the thumbnail, to be like, look, it's civilization or cult of death. Civilization or cult of death. 2023, East Palestine, Ohio train derailment. A lot of people, there's probably some people that don't even remember that. That's how brain dead the majority. All they know is Trump, Biden, or Trump Island Party, because it ain't the Republican Party, it's the Island Party. That's what it is. It is the Island Party. There ain't no Republican or Democrat Party anymore. It is the Epstein Island Party. That is the party that runs America, and probably always has. So don't be surprised. East Palestine, Ohio train derailment. So we know in Norfolk, uh, Norfolk, Suffolk, Southern freight train carrying hazardous materials. Now, what people don't know is some researchers claim that a lot of the stuff on those freight trains had already been banned. So they say these hazardous materials derailed, right? And they have film of the tracks sparking, the wheels sparking miles before it hit East Palestine. I mean, there's a lot of stuff, but who cares, man? Who cares? The Knicks game is on, right? So responders performed a controversial controlled burn. Again, that word controversial, that cast a massive chemical plume over the region and forced wide-scale evacuation. Look at that. So they didn't have the wide-scale evacuations until these idiots, a controlled burn. So that means uncontrolled. They just set it on fire, caused a massive chemical plume, and people had to leave. This is the cult of death that we're dealing with, that people call civilization so they can sleep at night, so they can put their guilt to sleep before they themselves go into slumber. It's crazy. It's really crazy. But if you can acknowledge it, then now that's the first step to getting better, to not being an idiot. If you can acknowledge it, if you can acknowledge that. Oh, Mark, good to see you, man. Always, brother. Always a pleasure. Scribe, what's up, my brother?
What's going on, bro?
Yeah, man. Civilization or cult of death, like the picture that I had made of the Capitol with made out of bones and skulls and you know try
Wow, that like straight up gray skull. What was it? The He-Man thing?
yeah, it's straight. That's the Capitol, man. Made out of bones, skulls, the flag, straight skulls instead of stars with blood stripes, I say it's a death cult. It's definitely not a civilization. And defining it as such, as I was like giving incidents of all of these chemical spills, all of these viral outbreaks that happened. Monkey Island in South Carolina with the infected monkeys that they do research on. A lot of people don't even know about that place. Yeah, yeah. And any thoughts on the cult of death disguising itself as civilization?
Man, that the more I think about it, it's like I think our initial reaction to it is exactly that. There's nothing else it could be. It's like what else would be causing this type of devastation on this level? Um, it's almost like it's a some type of parasitic entity or something that's not natural to this world, but because anything that's natural to this world does not hurt itself, right? So everything has an ecosystem. There's a balance. There's a somewhat very specific, detailed balance to where like the bees or whatever pollinating. If these basic things don't happen, uh, you're not gonna. The rest of the animals are not gonna survive. So it's fragile in that sense to where specific things need to happen for this ecosystem to evolve uh, to a certain extent of being at a point of natural replenishment versus modified poison stuff that's going to obviously mutate into something else. But um, the fact that we don't respect it, I think, is the main denominator here to understand. So whatever it is that's mind control is to keep us out of disrespect of the environment and the world itself, and to each other. I think that's probably the biggest differential that you could put here because it can't explain it because it's not natural. When you observe the natural world, you can understand why it works the way it works to a certain degree. You can understand it, but then this other element comes in and wants to do harm to it and to us. Yeah, so it's definitely a much higher agenda going on here. uh, towards we just want to survive and be able to sustain ourselves, you know. But for some reason, this agenda hungry, power hungry thing wants not just to sustain itself; it wants complete control. Is a problem. It's power hungry, 24/7, nonstop. It's like there was the argument that they're saying, okay, even if there's royal families, all these things, there's generations, they go on, but the son, the daughter, is always going to have a different take on the world view of the father and mother who are king and queen. So eventual progression of that should lead to some type of civil situation to where now you don't have to go to war because now we're more advanced. But it's not that way. Whatever it is that's controlling this is on this hell bent, nonstop, just parasitic uh, agenda, and it will never take anything down. Like Patriot Act, income tax, all these things will never go away. It stays there, all it's temporary, whatever, but it stays there, stays there, stays there, adds up, adds up, adds up. Uh, and you combine everything else, so it definitely is not. I would never think a human or something of that nature would want this type of outcome. But unfortunately, this thing wants this. It's crazy because it's kind of what you see in Hollywood too, where you see, oh, this guy's got to save the world. The objective is to save the world. How are you going to save the world from this? Whatever, Mission Impossible, Delos, Doctor No. These guys have these super underground, mega billion-dollar bases or whatever. It's like, how does that even come to fruition in reality unless you're that power hungry, unless you're that hell bent to take over the world? You would have to create things like nuclear bombs. You would have to create crowd control. You would have to control the minds. You would have to create racism. You have to create all these things that are there in order to pull this off. And unfortunately, they exist, which means whatever that agenda is, it's being fulfilled. And it's not, again, I don't think it's being hindered by any human consciousness because, again, you have these old royal families, apparently they're in power. Their sons and granddaughters over the years eventually, I would hope, would find some peace. There's not like this overlooking thing that doesn't die. That's just there to say you have to be at war all the time. It's just a constant thing. I don't believe that. I think it's something else that's non-human that is able to live. That doesn't, it's not affected by time, like our consciousness is not affected by time. But it's able to push these agendas, on us, on the human physical form. Go ahead. Long much longer than I expected. But go ahead, man.
Yeah, man. No, I hear you totally. Alexis says, Scribe and MD, I'm so confused. They poison us, control us, and ruin lives. But why? Why did the elites hate people so much? What did we do to deserve this? Now, what do we do to them? And they can't be this evil. They can't be evil to us for no reason. And you have a very good point. That being said, it seems like that's where the Loosh theory saying that they feed off our energy, kind of like loosely says that. And then also like a farm, like the chicken that is factory farmed. How do we know it's not saying why do they do this to us? Why are they keeping us next to each other? They don't even give us a plate. Huh?
Now you're putting in lab terms, right? So the same thing we do with chickens and cows. When you're being treated in such ways where it's like a normal thing. Like, what do you mean? This is normal. Wait, you're you're treating this as if we're straight out animal farm, like you just mentioned. What's going on here? Because whatever is doing this doesn't seem to have a human conscious, as in something that's actually for the people, and it's something else disguised as that thing. So when he says, let me go back to the comment here. He says, "Why did How do we deserve this? Why are we Unfortunately, I think there's another hierarchy. I think it's we've put ourselves in this elite hierarchy that we think we're tier, cream of the crop, the top tier, and then Jim Carrey comes along and lets you know, hey, we don't matter. To the point where it's like, yeah, you're basically Animal Farm situation. Now you see uh, why human life is not worth anything in their eyes, and they'll create these fake groups, Black Lives Matter, all this fake stuff. To it's like that wouldn't even. Just look at that, Black Lives. Why would you even have to say that? That's an insult within itself. Every life matters. Why would you even do that? Because these guys are professionals when it comes to psychological warfare, and they use it against us with the racism and all that stuff. They know exactly what to do. They'll stage it. I can't even talk about that in my opinion, but they'll do things to easily manipulate that and make us think, oh, look, um, and we fall into that, and we pay attention to that, and we fall victim to participating. And I think that's the main thing. At least we don't have to do. We don't have to participate. We can increase our knowledge by not participating in the ball chasing thing and the fake media and everything else. So we know already that we're not the top tier, so we're gonna be treated as accordingly. And as long as you know that, you don't feel the same. You don't feel the same way. Okay, I'm just in the I'm in the farm. I'm in the farm. Okay, I understand. It's kind of like if you kind of know your place, you don't hate it as much towards you. If you thought you were at the top tier, yo, I'm being disrespected, man. I don't like this. You kind of get taken off that soapbox. So I don't know what you think about that, Andy.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's true. We live in something that's so crazy and it changes so quickly. That's the amazing thing. It's that once you think you got to figure it out, even just 50% of the way, it changes. The rabbit hole gets 100 times deeper. Um, it does seem like something is using us, and then you wonder. You say, well, why are we even here? Why would something be this cruel? And the reason I bring in the factory farming or the zoos or the experimental labs. So those three things, factory farming, we see that, okay, they do it for food, but it would make sense if you let the chicken live in a free range life, because now, you know, the chicken is happier, even though it's still going to get killed and eaten. But when you eat that, I think you might be eating something that, and I could be wrong, but if it's you're not eating something that was tortured, because that tortured and stuff goes into the meat, I would think, into the flesh. So that could also bring in to why they do torture these animals, to maybe keep us in a state of fear, because we're eating fear as well. The laboratory experiment model, which it's probably all three. We have They're doing it now. The other reason was for food, and also food to keep you in a state of fear. Um, the experiment is because they are doing experiments, so we can see the reason why they're doing it. We say, okay, we don't agree with it, but we're saying, okay, that would give us a frame of why it's being done to us, but we don't exactly know how. Are people getting consumed? Uh, Definitely, they're doing experiments on us. I mean, we do. There's the paperwork is there. Anybody can look it up. Um, and then so we have those two ways of why they're doing it. So you have the experiment model. You have the farm model. What was the other one I had? Because it was three. It was experimenting on us, um, using us as farm to eat us, and then another one is the zoo. That was the other model. The zoo model.
Okay, I was about to hit on that.
Yeah.
Jurassic Park.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
What would possess someone to, okay, we took this billion-year-old whatever mosquito and extracted DNA, and we're going to recreate T-Rex and all these things. What would possess someone to even, I just, why?
Well,
Just
the
that thought.
zoo ego. The zoo only. There's an old saying. A zoo is a place where every prisoner is innocent. Zoos are horrible when you really think about it. When I was a kid and I would visit my sister in California, one of them, and the big thing was, I mean, I think I was like around 10, and my younger sister and I flown out there to see our eldest sister, who was married with, I think she had one of her sons at the time. And the big thing was Disneyland and SeaWorld. SeaWorld more than Disneyland because they were cheap. And Disneyland cost money. This was back, I think, in the 80s. And I was just like, I didn't really want to go. It wasn't a bit, it was like the adults were more excited. Like, oh, Shamu, the whale, and this. And I'm like, I don't want to sit in this audience and get get wet, splashed by this gigantic orca that definitely does not want to be in this small tank. Now I couldn't articulate that at 10, but it, I also the laziness. I just want to stay home or do something easy, something that I actually enjoy. But the idiotic adults, um, I guess they looked at it as, oh, you see, we did something good for you, like, you owe us or something, or you got to like act like you don't exist, so you got to be quiet or something. I mean, it was horrible growing up around some of the people I grew up around. When I look at it now, and that's when I realized not a lot of people are what's the word, qualified to raise children. I mean, they shouldn't. I mean, they're just raising cannon fodder, for the government. And also just, I really, when I look at it, I say, why do the government is so oppressive? I'm surprised. Maybe they keep us alive for the purpose of experimentation, because every moment we're being experimented on with radio waves, what's in the air, the land, the water, other people, our reactions, psychological experiments that we don't even know are going on. Right now, at the moment, this is probably an experiment. Seeing how we interact with each other. And we wonder, like Alexis says, thoughts about the theory that we did something bad in previous life, so this is our punishment. And part of that does come into the equation, because you think about it. Like I was thinking about that today thinking about the incel problem. And I looked at a couple of, I was looking at parts of Ex Machina, which to me, it's a pretty good film. And it shows the danger of incels as well. I mean, this sucker, Caleb, basically sold out the other dude, which I'm not a fan of him either. I forgot his name in the film, for a robot. And even if it wasn't a robot, let's say it was a woman or a man. It's like the big thing is the theme is betrayal. But the fact that it was a robot and he was planning on escaping with it, so that, we're not going to change the story. We're going to look at it as what it is. It's like, wow, we see that happen just in regular history. So it's a deficit of character, of morals, which basically I would think comes from a lack of self-respect. It could be something else, because it's kind of seeming like it could just be more than him not having respect for himself. But
It's more desperation. That's the simpery thing.
Yeah, and the movies, I think some of these guys were trying to tell us something, because you got some serious simping in movies to where really betrayal, and to what somebody would call simp. If somebody says, well, could you define that? I would say, well, it's the ultimate betrayal of yourself. You've joined the circus. You've put yourself in a category of being an entertainer for somebody else's expectations. So now you're not even a human being anymore, basically. And we see that with a lot of relationships.
What was that song? That one song that's like, "I'll die for you" and all this stuff. What was it? You get so many of them. It's like,
Yeah,
how many songs?
look at the one by the Police. Every breath you take, I'll be watching you. What type
That
of
sounds more like predatory stock and blue age stuff.
talking, bro? I mean, and then it's got this haunting melody. Every breath you take, I'll be watching you. And I'm like, what the hell is this? What the hell? And then to make it even creepier, now that I think about it, who remade the song? Puff Daddy, after this guy was killed. But when you got somebody like that singing, I'll be watching you, it has a whole different, you know, connotation to it. But yeah, those type of songs. Who was the guy that sang "Keep It on the Low"? Basically, in the song, he's saying, "Keep it on the low. If you're cheating, I don't want to know." So this is the cuckery, and that on the level of cuckery that these songs are on, very similar to the cuckery, the pimp hoe relationship that we have with the government, our pimp. The government is our pimp. And we don't even want to know. Just like that guy saying,
Wait, wait, there's one he says, if you're hoeing, keep it on the low because my heart can't take it anymore, or something like that. I
yeah,
forgot what
that's the
simp
one.
was
I
that.
forgot the guy's name. I don't think
That's
it's Brian McKnight.
that's like pinnacle simp. It's like, are you
That
out of
that might be the most simpiest song I've ever heard. It might be. I don't know. There could be another one, but I forgot the guy's name. It's a modern song came out maybe within the last 10 years, I would think, 10, 15
Yeah, it
years.
was recent. Yeah, kind of recent.
Yeah, yeah. But when I heard that, I was like, what? I was like, and it's got a catchy beat. It's got a medium, not a slow, but a medium beat. You know, the beat is what really sells it. And then you're like, what's he saying? You're like, oh my, you're like, holy smokes. Holy smokes. I had a guy that I knew through a friend of mine that, the guy that goes on all the hikes and all of that. This dude told me, it was either yesterday or the year before. He goes, women look for personality. And, I didn't even know what to tell him. I was just I forgot what exactly I told him. It was something yeah, so, yeah, I think I told him, so looks don't matter. So, you're telling me,
This
you
is a
know,
friend of yours, or
he's a guy I know. I can't really call him a friend. He's a Pakistan guy. I told him, I remember telling him he reminds me of the Count from Sesame Street, like the curry version of the Count. And he kind of, I remember
do
we
you know
were,
how tall is he?
he's got to be like maybe 5'7", but we're at like this place back in, this had to be 2017 and or 2018. And I remember he had on these shiny black sneakers, and he goes, hey, he goes, there was some chicks over there I was talking to. And when he came, I went to say what's up to him. And he goes, yeah, these are $300 Jordans. Now, I'm not a fashionable guy. I wear regular clothes. They just look like shiny sneakers, kind of like the black Corafram shoes we used to have in the army that were very shiny. But, you weren't allowed to have Corafram. You had to shine them yourself. That self-shined leather. And I'm like, my first thing was, does she know, that what they are? Like I didn't know they were $300. I'm like, who cares if they're $300 sneakers? It's like, is that getting you laid? And when he said that, and I was just like, I didn't even say nothing. I was like, really? And it just so that's the same guy. He paid 1,500 to Todd V. Like my other friend Steve, who introduced me to him, told me he paid $5,000. And I never talked to him about it because I always kept it secret. I broke it out on him yesterday or the day before because I hadn't talked to him for like over a year, I think, or 2 years or something. And he tried to be like, nah, man, it was 1,500. And I'm
It's
saying,
funny how the price changes, huh?
yeah, and this is in Manhattan, and I was just like, I didn't even know what to say to him. And it's like, and this is the same thing, the relationship, these relationships, just like we have relationships with friends and with the government, basically with our boss, if we're working for a place or corporation or even a customer, that's the boss. And relationships are what life is a very big part of life. Well, I want to say what's what life's about, because even there's a relationship between us and existence itself, and us and death, us and life. There's a relation. Everything is related in a way, you know. Um, and this is something, when I look at it, one of the most powerful, like uh, ways of controlling somebody is in the relationship, in sexual relationships. Yeah, yeah, that's like a serious thing, man. You got people that are just
But everyone be thinking they're OG or whatever player and all that. It's like if you're even talking about that or even looking at that, that puts you in a category of a desperate person. Whereas the guys that are getting those things don't. It's not really a conversation.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it's funny when the other guy, the incel, asks the guy, "How'd you talk to that girl? What tell me what you said and all this stuff?" Because I've had that happen before. And I'm like, "What do you mean? You want me to remember exactly what I told her, like verbatim, so you can, you know?" And I'm realizing, well, he wants to repeat this, thinking it's going to do something. So it's hilarious to. It's almost like they think it's like, oh, if you do this in this order, then you'll get the peanut, right? Like the rat. If he goes to the thing and touches the button, he'll get the peanut. Like it's a linear thing that can repeat over and over. And unfortunately, when you tell them, look, man, unfortunately, you're 5'7", and you know it's
yeah.
hard.
And
It's
it's nothing
hard
wrong with
to.
somebody who's short. It's just to say, look, man, this is your parameters. This is the parameters to for the best. I mean, I might do a couple of short videos on the dating circus and stuff, just to show some stuff I have in the book. I was looking through the document the day before yesterday, I think, or yesterday. Lexus says, "Does the government need us more than we need the government?" I would think that they need us more, because if we're not there, then what is the government going to govern, really? It's kind of like, unless, well, the government, and this is the funny thing about the government, it's a fictional entity. The government is like Santa Claus. So Santa Claus can't exist without Christmas. The government can't even exist without us, basically. That's a good question, though. A beat are key to selling the hypno. Man, beats sell anything. The crappiest song. I mean, look. What was that one? My friend, we know that the rap is detrimental and all of that, but he was singing that one from, and from one of the worst. I think it was Rick Ross, something like "Every Day I'm Hustling" or something. And he was like, "Yeah, man, the beat, man, you know." And I'm like, "Man, I don't even want to hear that." But thoughts on the fashion brand clothes zombies, as they are, as bad as the burger zombies. Honestly, I think there's an overlap, because you got some fashion zombies that are burger zombies, but the clown wear, that's the way I look at the fashion. So it's like, this guy, I know, he had put it that way, because like, from high school point of view, he said, yeah, you wouldn't want to wear last year's clown wear. You got to have brand new clown wear for um every event, basically, not even every year.
We see
uh
that, and that depends if you fall in that category. Guys who have the height and the looks, they can wear whatever, and that's not going to matter, you know.
you can wear sandals and
Because
get away with it. You wear anything, and especially if a guy's muscular. I remember this guy I knew, Shah. He was like 5'11", 230. I mean, he was like a natural bodybuilder almost. Very 21-inch arms. Really cool guy. We used to exercise together. The guy was humongous. And I remember he was telling me, he goes, "Yeah, man, if I was rich, man, if I'd have a Corvette and just be wearing a pair of Speedos and some flip-flops," because he knew the power of his body. He was, very well built naturally. That was the craziest thing, because I knew the guy personally. It was like, yeah, this guy's not taking no type of, he's not even taking protein drinks and all of that. He's just natural. And he knew, he goes, yeah, man. He goes, I just be wearing a pair of Speedos and flip flops, driving in a Corvette. And he knows the girls will be on him. He has just enough height, and he's got just ridiculous amount of bulk. And but even a guy who's just slim without all of that muscle, that's good looking. Yeah, he wouldn't even need you being a regular ride. I mean, being in a fancy car to me is kind of overkill.
Yeah, in the end, you don't really, the guys that can do that don't really even need any of that. They can do straight Uber. They don't need a car, whatever. It's just the girl ain't caring about all that. She's only gonna
Yeah,
care. It's like
yeah,
when you get to the bedroom. Okay, what you're working with now, she cares.
yeah. Now, I hear what Alexis is saying about Ray Gun. That quote, I forgot. I remember hearing it, but there was a quote Mamdani said that was 9 words. I think Reagan's was an 8 word quote, but Mamdani said he had a quote that was even scarier, 9. It's like, um, I have a job, but I can't feed my family or something like that. But Reagan's quote was something more like government. I forgot what it was though, Reagan's. But Mamdani's, and funny that you brought that up. I just heard that today. And somebody mentioned the Reagan quote, and I didn't remember it again, but I remembered the Mamdani because I never heard the Mamdani quote before. And that is a scarier quote than what Reagan said, even though I don't remember it. But when I heard it earlier today, it wasn't as scary as the 9 word quote, I have a job, but I can't feed my family, or something like that. And that is, I mean, people, it's crazy. Mr. X, we just saw Mr. X backstage. What's up, bro?
Hey, good to see you guys. Yeah, just tuning in, just catching in. Starting a little early today, huh, MD?
Yeah, man. I said, let me just go a bit early. But what did you say, Scribe? Did I answer it? Or like, what did I forget it?
On what?
What you just said or something like that? I forgot. What was that?
It'll come back to me. I'm
All
trying
right.
to remember.
All right. Mr. X, what do you think it is? Civilization or a cult of death?
Ooh, be more. I'm sorry. Can I just get a little clarification on the question? Because
Okay, this is the name of the stream with this thumbnail here.
right, like in terms of what? Um, oh, you talking about our existence here, this government?
The government, because it's either
Whew.
they try to, just the way I said earlier, like evolution poses as science, but it's not, is the same way this cult of death poses as if it's a civilization.
Hmm.
Because, like how Scribe said before, you can't have a civil war. It's an oxymoron. The
Hmm.
the it doesn't make sense. It's like having a married bachelor. You can't be a bachelor if you're married, and you can't, you have to be one or the other. So you can't be a cult of death disguised as a civilization. You can't be both, because to be
Right.
civil is to treat each other with consideration and compassion and caring. So how does that even equate to having a civil war?
Yeah.
It just, you wonder, you say, well, wait a minute, so what is it, a war without weapons or something? Or that would maybe be classified as a civil war. A war, or maybe it wouldn't even be a war, it'd be like a great conversation or something again.
But the part thing that reveals itself is the hierarchy. How are we treated? So how is a hog treated? How is a cow treated? How is a chicken treated? What value do they provide? Like versus a wagyu beef cow in Japan that's pampered. They spend tons of money to keep these cows in a certain state of mind and a certain pampering thing, versus a cow in Texas, how it's treated. I think how you're treated determines your value in this existence. So even if you're human, you're being treated like a cow, then it tells you you're kind of low on the totem pole. It's like there's a lot of other entities out there that are way more valuable or being treated much better than you simply because you fall into this category. So
Mm.
that's the
Mhm.
only indicator I can think of in this world that could tell what where do I stand
Mhm.
in this society. And that's all you can really go off of.
I mean, I'm
Yeah.
looking at it more of a cult of death based on your explanation there, MD. I'm looking at the past history. I'm looking at a system that we pay taxes into, but obviously most of that money's not coming back to take care of the citizen. It's going to fund wars. It's going to jump around the moon. It's not, it's not going back to the intended purpose of why we pay taxes. It should be to help the American citizen. And I don't see that happening. So I'm more in line with a cold to death when you look at the oil epidemic, you look at the wars, you look at, yeah, I'm more in line with that, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it seems like. Alexis says, what does Reagan mean by the saying? I think Reagan used to try to play both sides. And he was like, basically, like he's trying to get on the side because he was Republican to say, oh, yeah, I want less government, right? So the terrifying word is the government being here to help you because the less government, the better.
Yes.
Appealing to his big, basically MAGA base because Republican, Reagan was an actor. I mean, who else? Every American president is an actor. Like some of the live streams I did previously, I call them Academy Award. Trump is a 2-time Academy Award winner for acting.
That's probably where Reagan was so loved, because he was an actor. He knew how to present himself as an actor to portray an image. And that's all it comes down to, is image, not substance. Substance is irrelevant. The economy at that time was doing what's going to do. You know what I mean? It's just, but it's the fate. It's people want to see the presentation more than the nuts and bolts. Otherwise, we'd be voting for a boring president who would get the job done. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, but also even with Reagan, he was so ordinary to me, because when you look at other actors, he's like a very, very lower level.
Yeah, but he was still an actor.
John F. Kennedy had more charismatic action to be an actor than Ronald Reagan. And I don't think Kennedy was an actor, but I mean, all of them are actors in the sense that they're sitting in a pretend seat. A president is a cop. He's the presiding officer. So people don't realize that president is just another word for a law enforcement official. And they think somehow that he's their friend. He's their father figure.
Yes.
And what puts people in that state of stupidity of thinking that the president would be a father figure is the propaganda of people always using the words founding fathers. And it's like none of these guys are related to any of the presidents. Most of the people that would even say those words are like the lowest string of labor that came out of Western Asia over here. And nothing against them, because we all basically a lot of us come from that. Not all of us, but definitely the majority. And the thing is the power in being honest. It's like, saying, hey, I think MAGA went way before Reagan too. Yeah, they're both actors. Yeah. I think MAGA goes back, like they have some pictures you might be able to find with the Klan on both sides of like the walkway going to the Capitol. These are like pictures from, I think, the 20s or even earlier, 1910s. And yeah, so they had a big MAGA thing, Remember, they were formed a couple of months after the Civil War ended. So anybody who can basically add things up psychologically can figure out that what their whole creation was.
There seems to be a lot of similarities between the Klan and the Knights Templar, certainly with the outfit.
Some. I don't know if the racial stuff is there, but remember, it's based on stupidity, because if you look at some of the, if you look at like just the Hindu stuff, and Azarun knew a lot about this, but there's some really good videos that these gurus did. And some of these gurus were white gurus, Westerners who became gurus, got the beard, all of that stuff, doing the yoga, but getting real deep, because now they can translate it to us, even though a lot of Indian gurus can translate it good too. They made videos about scientific proof that the civilization was flourishing way before anything had came from Europe or from Western Asia over into Middle Asia, which is India, which spread up into Iran. And they were saying that the word Baghdad, it's a Hindu Sanskrit type of derivative, like Bhagavad Gita, with that B and that H and that A, with a G. So the Bahag, and which, the two consonants next to each other, it gives a sound that we don't usually have in the English language, which they say Sanskrit is like a complete language because it has 50 letters. So yeah, that Aryan, I think the video is called Scientific Verification of the Vedas, and shows how the Aryan myth and the Caucasian lie was created to impose a false identity onto people. Because I've heard even people from Europe talk about that and say, yeah, like they would think I didn't know where the name Caucasian came from the Caucasus Mountain and Asia, Caucasus Mountain Asians. And the key on the suffix of that word is Asian. So it shows like we're all very, very, very much related, especially when we look back at the albino template and stuff like that everybody has. So now that brings in an even closer type of thing. Alexis says founding fathers is hilarious when they didn't find anything. They just stole what the natives had. Natives were the original founders. As far as we know, yeah. I mean, it just shows me that, and it's not to say, yeah, there's going to be possibly things even before the natives. Who knows? But as far as we know, the natives were here as far back as we know. That whole, just acknowledging that, it's like me saying, okay, wherever my ancestors come from on this planet, let's just say it's a few different countries, right? I don't really see the big thing in me clinging on to thinking they have to be the first people there. To say, well, wait a second. All right, they come from there, but now before them, let's just say 1,000 years, 2,000, 5,000, 10,000, 50,000. Now we're going before recorded history.
But you see, I think that's a deception because, like, especially in the Old Testament, it's like God made this place for us, and I think we're deceived to think that how many religions say that this place is made for us. The Garden of Eden, and then this.
But the thing about that is the people, what in the Bible and other religious things would call the people that were outside of the garden. So the people outside of the garden, basically who Cain would have married to, his wife.
No, I'm saying, what if that was the lie to make us think we were the ones to inherit this earth, quote unquote, but yet the reality is we're just cattle, and there's actually other entities that are way above us.
Yeah.
So I think that's the misconception. That's why we have so much entitlement and delusion, because it was made for us and we're the chosen ones and whatever and all that. It's like, really?
Yeah, it's a very arrogant position because we might not be the chosen one. We might just be somebody like, we're lucky that our parents didn't beat us to death, or our great-great-grandparents. I mean, we don't know what we are. That's the craziest thing. We don't know who we are, what we are, when we are. Because, I mean, what I was thinking that the other day, I said, does an animal know what Saturday is? It's like, it just...
Or time itself?
Yeah, well, maybe the animal knows time because, like, that cat that used to predict...
Okay, 2:31 p.m. Does it know 2:31 p.m.?
Not 2:31, but something possibly even more practical was Oscar the cat in the hospital. He was, I think, one of the doctors or nurses' cats, and predicted over 100 people's passing within 2 hours. And there was one incident where it went to the person's room who was terminally ill about 8 hours prior, left, and then came back within 2 hours of the person passing, indicating that not only could the cat, because it did it like 120 times or something, different patients, everyone accurate. Not only could it predict when somebody was going to pass, it could predict within a certain amount of hours. Like, and that was one incident that kind of showed that. So maybe animals have a keener sense of time that maybe they don't even measure time the way we measure it. Maybe they measure it with something else that's practical and real. Like if you know without knowing how long it takes an apple to get brown when you're eating it, you know that's like a form of knowing time without knowing time. To say, okay, I don't know how to measure this, but I know at the rate that I eat it, it doesn't get brown. But if I don't eat it at that rate and I put it down, it's going to start to get a little brown on it. But there's no digital time involved in that, in understanding the passage of, what would we even call it? You know, the passage of what is, you know, it's really deep when I think about it. It's like, wow, time for animals, like plants too. Plants probably masters of time. Plants are amazing. I mean, but for us to understand, I mean, it seems that we can affect time with our minds, with certain substances.
Yes.
But you would agree that the plant or soil, things of this nature, are obviously intentionally put there in order for life or even us or animals to be able to survive, right? To even be able to eat or whatever, right? So
I
there's
think
an order to these. There's an order to these things, right?
there seems to be an order to some of it, and then there's these other things that can disrupt that order. So an example of that would be an ecosystem that works, everything was working fine, and you bring an invasive plant or animal into there, like fire ants or something, and it starts to disrupt the balance. Now, maybe from a different perspective, that might not be looked at as disruption. To the fire ant, it's expansion. To the other, diversity, it's death. So you had like an island with birds, all these beautiful different birds. And when planes started going there, snakes hijacked on the planes, almost wiped out all the birds. So you see where, okay, if it's not looked at as it wiping it out, it's replacing, but what is it replacing it with? Like, I guess to people who like snakes, that would be looked at as, wow, there's an island that used to have these really amazing bird diverse population until a few different types of snakes got on there. And then they just multiplied. The birds have no defense. I don't know if there's like one or two types of bird on the island still. I think the island is like close to New Zealand or something. And then there's
Snake
other,
Island?
huh?
You talking about Snake Island?
No, Snake Island is the other one that I was going to mention,
Mm-hmm.
where there's only snakes.
Right.
And I think it has like three of the most deadly snakes in the world on that island. So that's another island that's just snakes, Snake
Got a
Island.
lighthouse on there too, I heard.
Yeah, yeah. They said like within 3 feet, every 3 feet, there's a snake.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, like hiding. Like you'll think there's no snake. Snake is hiding somewhere. Yeah, that's I think they got that snake, the fer-de-lance. It was supposed to be like a lot more
But how do they even
toxic.
survive? They've probably eaten all their prey. I wonder how they even survive. All those-
They eat each other.
Oh, they eat each other.
Cannibals. Yeah, they're cannibals.
Well, the thing is, there's some to it when you have like the Aztec, and the Mayan calendar and all these things, and Egyptians where they use, or Chinese, zodiac, all that stuff, where there's certain animals that are in these placements to describe an age or describe the energy at the time or whatever. So again, it seems more like, what if this thing is going off biological, digital at the same time? The digital is the soul, the biological is the body, the physical asset. So, and the fact that we created computers and recreated digital within ourselves kind of goes back to that godly creation thing. And now with AI, it's made it even worse to where we are our own worst enemy, that we can create something such as AI to destroy ourselves. So it's almost like it's another paradoxical, kind of an inside joke, but a bad joke at the same time. But the fact that we've been given this type of ability and responsibility is off the charts. And it almost seems like it's disguised to make us, again, we've been put in the school system, you've been dumbed down to the utmost degree until you go out there and open your eyes and see what you've been missing out on. So it's like, again, they're going towards their agenda, but it's almost like they can't do it just quite the way they want to, and they have to keep people really dumb and all these things under wraps for this to happen. And a lot of times, maybe all these other forces come in that we don't know about, we consider good forces, or just forces that are out for self-preservation, and it's a good thing for us, and that keeps it at bay. Stuff like that we don't know what's going on. But it seems like they're getting their way, but they're not quite getting their way at the speed they want to get it. So it's kind of like a back and forth thing. So I think that gives you your vision quest. It allows you to be on an even keel, even with these demonic, it appears to be entities or humans or whatever it is that's causing this. For them to suppress our knowledge just means we can reach their knowledge, and then that's the happy story. That's the bittersweet story. It's bitter that they treat us like animals, but it's sweet to where, look, you can rise up. There's ways to rise up and do something about it, in your own little way. Not to say, oh, you need to change the world, way, but you do it in your own little way or big way. Some gonna give there. So they're not bulletproof. That's all I just want to say. But,
Yeah. I mean,
so when Arnold says, if it bleeds, it can be what?
oh, with the predator?
If it bleeds, what? Exactly. So it's the same thing, that they have this weakness they don't want us to know about. Therefore, they have to put an insane amount of suppression on us.
It could be like the government, the entity that, if we realize that without us, the government doesn't exist. So it doesn't exist. It's fictional. So that means it can be gotten rid of with a thought, because it's a psychological game, just like Santa Claus. Santa Claus can be diminished with a thought. It's like, okay, we're going to have the presents. We're going to have the tree. We're going to even sing Christmas carols. But we don't need Santa Claus. So we can provide technology, food, help each other, and we don't need government. And that's what anarchy is. But everybody has to do their part. Everybody, every day has to be there until the day we pass. So everybody knows that, look, you're going to be taken care of. Everything's okay. And we're going to help each other. Government is an ingenious, high-level psychological psyop to allow people that know how to use it to control massive amounts of people without the guns. One gun to 100 people, like Lenin said. One guy with the gun can control 100 people without it. Most likely even more. I looked at a town that had I think it was like 300,000 people. It was 3 combined towns. And there was only 300 cops for that whole section. I mean, that's ridiculous. That's 1,000 to 1. And of course, they're going to have detectives and stuff like that. But now, you got to remember, out of that 300,000 people, you're going to have a lot of Agent Smiths pop up. And the mental government is the only way to control that amount of people. Now you don't need that. Now the electronic thing is going to do the job. And that the electronic thing, the AI, you got these rats that are more than happy to do that. Wow, I didn't know these guys left. Holy smoke! I walked away to get some tea. Why did Englishmen wear wigs? I don't think all of them wore wigs. Yeah, I don't think so. Mr. X will be back in a minute. Figures when I walk away to get some tea. That's just the way things work when you think about it, man. That's the way things work. But, hey, everything's under control, right? It just, we're living in a type of storyline, it seems like. It really does seem fictional, artificial, constructed, if I may. So existence is odd. I'm not sure what it is. I am more sure of what it isn't. And that would be a random chance, some type of mystery that people will never be able to solve. That's just what it is. People will never be able to solve this mystery, and that's okay. It's like, hey, we're not going to be able to figure this out, right? But that's okay, because that's what existence is about. Yeah, I noticed you hopped off.
Yeah, and then that went down.
Yeah, Mr. X hopped off too. He said he'd be back though.
Cool. What are you guys talking
about? Alexis had a question. But I told him, I don't think all of those guys wore wigs, but definitely some, definitely a lot of them.
No, you still look at, Adam, what's his name? Newton. So Newton was probably the biggest one. So apparently the apple and all this stuff, it's like really, so an apple had to fall on your head for you to create calculus and gravity and all this other miraculous stuff. I mean, it's just more idiocy from just nonsensical pseudoscience. And it's funny because Tesla did push back on that, but nobody really, like people at that time especially would not even conceive or understand that, what he's talking about, let alone free energy, even now today.
Yeah, but with
even
the
now today,
technology that we have, we can go a lot further today.
Well, if you were to present today, hey, we can have wireless technology, you're like, what do you mean? Why haven't we?
Or you can write books Tesla. About gravity, because we can publish them about theories.
No, but you're not allowed to, provide it to the public.
Yeah.
So it's more of a mental suppression using physical force to create the mental depression required to keep people in their bracket of hierarchy. The poor people, white collar, blue collar, business people, whatever. But no matter how high you go as far as the money side, you're still stuck in the farm. You have a nicer farm, you have a nicer little place to hang out, but you ain't free. You ain't still free. You're not fully free to do what you want. So it almost seems like we want to unlock that within ourselves to be able to do freely what we want, express ourselves exactly how we want, and all these things. And Bruce Lee would talk about that. He said when you're fighting and stuff, you express yourself the right way. Freely is very hard. It's a very hard thing to do. Like to be able to express yourself freely without ridicule and going to jail or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And then also, if you teach people growing up and you show them, like, you have to make them understand why a law or a moral, really, responsibility is important. Like littering, you show them, look, it's important because when you keep things clean, you're not polluting the ecosystem, and everything you put out there comes back. That's what plants show us too. You reap what you sow.
You see, these basic things were already instilled and understood. It wasn't until this other thing came in and created these types of people who turn into, from real people, turn into a consumer, almost like a robot, and they'll bow down to anything as long as you give them McDonald's and their dopamine effect. They're fine. So how do we go from inner
Hmm.
vision and dreams, morality and things, to respect the earth, and also dreams of our own, to reach a certain echelon of hierarchy or whatever? Want to be something, but also be good to the world and good to people. Where did this other thing come in to say, forget all that? You're you're now going to be treated as a slave, and we're going to pretend that we care about these things, but at the same time, it's just such it's such a convoluted, insane, intertwined, crazy ass insanity that I can't even, you can't even describe it.
Yeah.
Because when you add the pedo thing in there, and then you throw all these other things in there, and the demonic thing, and all these other things, it's like, what in the world are we describing here? Are we describing real life, or are we describing something completely different? It's like, what exactly are we talking about? We can't put our finger on what reality is. You know, we can only describe it on certain levels, physical, spiritual, whatever. We can't talk about it as a whole. That's the first issue.
Yeah. You're right about that. It's very not talk aboutable.
And on top of that, put a very limited, rigid, heartless language to use that to describe what you want to describe.
The three theories for the cult of death disguising as civilization make a lot of sense. If there's a fourth one, I will add it to it. But the zoo, the farm, and the lab, and it honestly seems to be all three. And you know what goes beyond all of them is freedom, basically, because now you don't have anybody using the mental weapon of government to take your freedom or my freedom or anybody, because that's what's happening. Some people have learned how to use government to keep the rest of people in control. And it could be definitely something supernatural behind the scenes, but before you even hit that or get close to it, there are a series of supervisors and managers and CEOs that probably are human, and they know how to use government. If you run a sugar plantation, which one is an extremely addictive drug, um, imagine the power that those people have, the amount of money. Those, you think they're openly going to say that these people are trillionaires? And well, oh no, Musk is the first one to, openly maybe, but you got like sugar industries and chemical industries that the people who run those industries are so far ahead in rank than any type of president or any leader of any country. And this is something that's hard for people to fathom. Like Ike and Jones will put it into some type of Bohemian Grove stuff, which it could be. It's possible, something like Alien, whatever. Or before you even get there, it could be that year. If you have basically $1 trillion, you can hire armies you have money to where you create an economy. I mean, that if you can get people to believe in that, and why would they believe in it? Because of sloth, because of laziness, of saying like, yeah, you know what, I can use this universal piece of paper, this receipt, to buy any type of goods that I want to buy, instead of having to deal with the person I'm buying the goods from, some type of trade, bring something that person wants, something that's always in need, a commodity. I don't know, clean water, alcohol, drugs, something that the person, like how money is the commodity for that. So no matter, you could have stuff to trade for them, but you also will be like, look, I got money. And money is the universal, and that comes from being lazy. It's saying, okay, we'll let these gangsters run us, and we'll just use the money because now it makes it a lot easier. Uh, what about those islands that are being bought up by Kush and Trump to create? Yeah, possibly. I don't know, man. I mean, I saw something about that. People are going crazy on that. And again, it would be, and this is something that you got to stay very, very wide awake or aware, is that how many different stories from different cameras, not just a different story with the same camera shots. How many different camera shots can we get to really understand the story? When we've been conditioned to see one or two, maybe even two different angles from two different stations. So that's four. But not more than that. It'll be the same thing. We get so accustomed to seeing different stories with the same pictures and the same video footage that it seems like it's almost new footage when it's the same footage with a different commentary. The psychological control of us is so advanced that if we don't become like high level psychological researchers, we're doomed to be controlled by somebody who has a higher understanding of psychology. People can't even grasp their mind around the concept that government is a fictional thing like Santa Claus. But when you think about it, you start to say, wow, it really is. And if I have enough money to pay people and to make all of these fancy uniforms and give them little prizes and medals to put on their shirt and badges and all of this stuff and weapons and handcuffs and all of these type of accessories, and also use like the law of probability, pay for health care, because not everybody's going to get sick, but the ones that do, the ones that don't get sick, their money makes up for it because you're working with such large numbers of people. So math is very important in this, and if you do it correctly, you'll have people dying for you. And that's what we have. People that join the military to support their wife, their kids. I mean, everybody gets free health. I remember one guy with 3 kids, this guy Anderson. They give you housing because he was married too. So we stayed in the barracks on post, and these guys that were married would have like communities of these houses where they would live in the houses. And he had 3 young boys, and he goes, man, and we were in Texas from Fort Hood. He goes, I keep the AC running all day. My 3 boys are taken care of. He goes, I don't have to pay for medical. He goes, I can't beat this. And he came into the Army with 3 kids. So it wasn't like he was like the normal guy that gets married and has kids and now he's stuck in there. He came in and he dove into that. And I'm just like, wow. And if he dies, the family gets some type of insurance. They don't get a lot. I think it was 50 grand back then. But, if guys were smart, if you got kids, you got to have a life insurance. You don't have to, but yeah. if you care about your family, basically. And even that, you know, it's really not even life insurance. Again, the words, it's called death insurance at that point.
Well, if you're an officer, even overseas, you get real dope.
Oh
Real
yeah,
nice
you
place.
get hooked up. You can't beat that. That's why I'm like, this is how strong the psychological positioning is. It's like a chess game.
It's like if you were to pay for a place like that, we're talking probably
You
multi-million,
can't get the
possibly
guy to
now.
rebel. The people will defend you. They'll say, look, if it wasn't for this guy's country, you know, how would their kids be fed? You know, they're this and that. To understand how powerful the illusion of government is a high level of comprehension, because it's hard to even figure out. People are like, wait a minute, so I don't get what you're saying. It's fake. And it's like, yes, the authority is fake. It's a made up holiday like Christmas. Okay, everybody, we're going to pretend on this day that we all like each other. We're going to give each other presents. And then tomorrow, you can go back to being your normal self that hates everything or treating people disrespectful and stuff. I mean, I used to say when I was a kid, I'd rather if everybody liked me for 364 days and then treated me normal on Christmas. So treat me nice and be happy. You know, everything would be like it's a holiday. It's a corporate season of sale. So it's like
Exactly the best way you can say that the government describes us, the American government describes people, citizens, as would be not as humans or American citizens, but rather an asset. So they'll take care of you as an asset, but they'll still treat you as an asset. So there is no humanity there. There is no morality there. You're an asset, and you're given a number. Here's social security. You know, here's your thing, and you know you got to do this and do this, and that's it. You're an asset that consumes. That's what they see it as.
Chris Rock said it best. He said the government is like an uncle that pays your way through college, but molested you. And I was like, wow.
Definitely molestation's there, but I don't know if he's paying. You know, a lot of people don't get to college or even to
No,
get
it's
any
like they
pay like
molested
that.
our mind, but you know, it's like we have an opportunity here that is a lot easier to succeed than a lot of other places. But since the internet, that statement doesn't seem to be as true. Because you got guys in other countries that have made a lot of money with the internet. And some legally, but a lot of them have made the money illegally and gotten away with it. A lot of these scammers and stuff. I forgot who it was that they were doing the Bitcoin scam, and Trump removed the safety thing. So now a lot of these guys, you wouldn't get in trouble to go to jail, basically. It's crazy.
Well, you already know how old. You already know that you're within the chessboard. Jail and stuff doesn't exist for whoever these
I don't
guys.
think Haksua didn't go to jail. That girl.
Well, she got destroyed. She got taken out. So
Yeah, but she didn't go away. Did she
Got
get
close.
to keep the money?
I don't think so. I mean, she just disappeared.
But wasn't there who else did something like that? Weren't there other people that did Bitcoin? Like,
What do you call it? Logan Paul, big one. Not only that, he also did the zoo thing, and he messed. You know, like I don't know how many millions, but people invested like I don't know, it was a lot. And he's just like, well, it's not working. We just abandoned it. He just literally abandoned like $100 million, over $100 million worth of other people's money, and just like, oh, you know. And then people started getting together, and CoffeeZilla was the main one to expose that, and then he sued CoffeeZilla. So it's just complete, you know.
Did
The
CoffeeZilla have to
child
pay
trying to
money?
do the child trying to do business and just thinks he can walk away at any time. You know.
Did CoffeeZilla have to pay money, or did he win?
I think he won. I think he won because I think it was multiple lawsuits. It was one. He won first one. I think they're still
What
in
was he
one.
suing him for? Like saying what he?
Oh, like libel, defamation, all that crap. You know, hate speech, whatever,
Wow,
and all that.
crazy man. It's like wow. You think about it. It's the internet. There's a lot of opportunity, and it's growing exponentially. The fact that there's so many different sites now. You know, TikTok really did change that a lot, and Instagram, YouTube, yeah.
Yeah, I mean the AI thing is going to exponentially turn this into something else that we can't even foresee right now. I mean, I'm just thinking of all the different possibilities, not just with robotics
Hmm.
and all these things, but also the software and how smart this thing can get and replicate itself without you having to do anything is yeah, it's getting nuts. I mean, to the point where you can have self-replicating robots. You know, if you get the right.
I think they already have it. Yeah,
Yeah,
self-replicating.
you've seen movies and stuff about it, definitely.
I'm looking it
I
up
mean,
for which
and
company.
there's also a certain material, but now we're talking alien material that can replicate, you know, the shell, the cover, whatever it is. But
Right.
self-replicating robot would be more like it'll be broken in pieces, and then those pieces can come back together as something else or
It
recreate
says
itself.
kind of like the Terminator 2.
No, no, that's liquid. That's liquid form. I don't think that's even real. I mean, that's. I mean, I guess. I don't
Well,
know if
we did a
that.
show. We did a show on that a way back where they had a very, very crude form of a liquid metal like mercury, moving because it had some type of chip in it or
Yeah, you
something.
can manipulate it, but I don't think it can hold consciousness as far as a hard drive
No,
or
no, you won't
something.
need but maybe a program
Most one, I mean, that's how are you
like
going
a
to hold a program
calculator or
in.
something.
Well, how are you going to hold that in a liquid form? So that's the problem with that.
Yeah, but
Now you're
you,
talking witchcraft,
you'd be
alchemy or
surprised. This is, it's witchcraft.
it
They
might be. It could be. It could
might
be a
have to kill a
possible way.
chicken.
Yeah. No, yeah, because
Kill a
some of the
chicken.
alien tech that we look at, it's like, how does that even work? It doesn't even make sense.
Yeah,
And then when you think about witchcraft and stuff, it's like, well, you know,
retro. Retro says, been listening. I'm doing editing simultaneously. These live streams today have been terribly disappointing. Good to hear from you,
really.
Retro. If you want to hop on, man, yeah, we might, yeah, because we're talking about can the Terminator 2, uh, could a robot like that exist? And Scribe is posing a good question, like how would you put um, the components like the CPU and all of that? How do you get that in liquid metal? Uh, oh wow, he said, too bad there's no such thing as alien material. Is that philosophical or saying that everything's alien? Or is it
Well, he's talking regenerative material, which apparently they found on Roswell, whatever. Apparently, we don't know if it is true. Again, it's more speculation. But
more
apparently,
like
there's a point
oil?
of material let's say on the nano level, nanobot rebuilding. We're not talking about like peace building, where there would be on our version would be more like pieces, like it breaks apart in pieces, and those pieces can come back and recreate itself. That's more doable. But liquid metal and stuff like that, you'd have to have some point of a brain or CPU to hold the
Yeah,
memory to
yeah.
actually do that.
Well, unless you could um, do it with liquid metal, unless you could, there could be a way. But it says here that fully autonomous humanoid robots capable of mining raw materials or building perfect copies of themselves are basically in the works. It probably exists. And they're saying that several companies and institutions are
Well, that would be on the nanoscale, like Tony Stark when you saw the first Iron Man. I don't know if you saw Avengers and all that stuff afterwards, where
mhm.
you notice that he went from mechanical to later on it went nano to where now he can just literally hit his chest and it spawns the suit you through a nanotech and a miniaturized thing or whatever.
Hello.
It's gonna.
Retro, what's up, man? Are you there?
Hey, I was just trying to hit the link. I hit the link.
Yeah, we were talking about the Terminator 2 robot.
Oh yeah, you get it through with Wi-Fi, with Bluetooth. Yeah. They already have liquid like robot computer things, like very small, like metal slugs that can be controlled and stuff. So they would probably use something like that. So I don't know how they control the metal slug things, but it's like a liquid iron robot. They already have a liquid iron goo that's like a thick black iron-filled goo that's kind of magnetic, and they can push it around and roll it with some kind of computer program. Like they're trying to make liquid so they can go inside the human body and have like a liquid computer analyze people and rip their guts out and, grab something they want and pull it back out of them in case they swallowed evidence,
Yeah, but that's more manipulating the element. That's not installing a hard drive and saying, okay, now you have an AI brain, and now you can form the
Well,
human. You can form
the cloud. So the cloud, so you're saying how do you get the AI brain in it? That's what Starlink is for. It's just like it doesn't need as much CPUs anymore.
What you're saying is the physical robot can have the consciousness streamed to it through Wi-Fi, like. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think if it can't have normal hardware, that's what it's going to be streamed into it, and it's probably going to have some kind of liquid computing.
That's your phone. Your phone needs Wi-Fi, but it's not a liquid form, right?
Yeah, but our phone's not liquid. Yeah, but they can probably figure it out. I mean, it's already being done with they have this dark liquid metal iron-filled stuff.
The ferrous,
ferrous liquid stuff, and then they can control bugs already. So just like shrink all that down even further, and then they could have some kind of receiver in a liquid robot that's malleable, meaning it can move with the liquid.
Yeah.
And it can be controlled by like radio signal and or Wi-Fi signal or something like light or something, just like like scattered light as far as signals, just like blips and bips as a signal that it's tuned to.
Have one not powered by Wi-Fi. How would that be done? Could that be done? I think that's what Scribe is saying too. Which
I would say internal computing. Yeah, I think that's possible too, but we're not quite there. But I think when we're there, that's a military technology as well, because you can push something under a door crack and basically then it can go search around for stuff. So on its own without a signal.
Yeah, minimal thing. The Mind, what's up, man? Good to see you.
Yeah, what's up? Hey, I wanted to jump on and say I'm pretty sure it's going to be some kind of nanotech. I've seen them already 3D print an elephant inside. I believe it was a human cell. So yeah, that's going to be doing. They could definitely make some liquid type of microscopic organism or machine that would have basically a whole computer in every single little micro dot, and it can act like a fluid. I'm pretty sure.
Where do we store the wafers in that thing? We got to slice lots of those crystals wafers and put them in there, the quartz.
So the T2 Terminator 2 could. I mean, I don't see why it couldn't be a reality.
No, first of all, when we're talking about the nanobots right now, we only know in that form of biological nanobots. We don't know the form of actual machine form nanobots.
Why don't we think we're robots? Like we're biological forms that get a Wi-Fi signal that think we are.
I'm asking you. Okay, you get a Wi-Fi signal. What data is being transferred to the goo to tell it? Okay, I need you to turn into a cockroach or something, or do something there. Where's the information? How is the information being transferred?
Yeah. Repeat the question to the cockroach. Say that again.
You're saying it's receiving a Wi-Fi signal, the goo, right? What's telling, how does the Wi-Fi through the net coding transfer to the cockroach, you're almost assuming it has a
Oh,
computer on
I
its
mean,
back.
that's what Neuralink comes in. So Neuralink is actually just figuring out how the brain works, so it can just send patterns that make the response happen. So I think that's the whole
So you're
concept behind Neuralink.
with Elon Musk on it. I mean, I don't
Yeah,
even.
I'm not down with it, but I think that's the kind of technology you're talking about is brain computer interface without a human brain. So they would send the signal in there and duplicate how a
I'm
human
not talking about biological. We're talking about a liquid form
right.
of
But
metal.
that's how they design a lot of computer systems is they mimic human brain activity. Is that's what the Neuralink is there for. It's
Okay,
it's
so
a computer design.
how is the blob thing mimicking that in order for the Wi-Fi to affect it?
I mean, I think they wouldn't build it unless they could put in a structure or a receiver to, compute that stuff. But I think it would be very simple and almost bulletproof if it's liquid. So, if this is something that's, can get run over by a truck, it's still going to work, or get thrown into the ocean or whatever, that it's
I don't
still
think
going to
you're
work.
understanding what I'm saying. Where's the containment unit for the Wi-Fi to transfer the signal so that the information is gathered by the blob so it knows what to do?
I think it's built into it. It's part of its frame. So the goo itself.
Why does it need Wi-Fi then?
Why does it? Because there's no signal, meaning where is it storing the data? It's like a computer. Say your computer has no hard drive, but you want to use it. It's still a computer.
That doesn't even make sense. I'm saying, where does the signal,
So
the
say
data
this is
from
a
the Wi-Fi
liquid
signal has
computer
to be,
robot with no hard drive. So you're asking, where is the processor? Where is the hard drive?
right? Where's the information stored for it to animate as a liquid form to be a human or something, or to do what it did in the movie, in the Terminator movie?
I mean, I think it would be part of how it's made, meaning the technology to produce that liquid would have a
No,
fine
I'm
grain in
simply
it.
asking you how the Wi-Fi signal, which is the information to tell this thing what to do, right? That's what you said originally. The information is coming from,
It would be a working antenna.
right. So forget about that. So once the information gets to the blob, how does the blob store it and know what to do?
I mean, that's for the people that invent the blob. I'm not inventing it. I think it's
So then
easier
now
than you're saying that.
you're just making stuff up then at this point because you can't answer
I'm
that
making
question.
stuff up? Really? What am I making up? You said a Terminator 2 robot.
You can't explain how
Wait,
the Wi-Fi
You're
signal.
acting like I already have it. Wait, I didn't build one of these. This is your question, dude.
Okay, I want to
a
jump
lot
in
of
here.
things.
I would like
I'm
to
not
jump in real
saying
quick.
it's possible. I'm saying it's probable. I don't have one.
Okay, I just want to jump in real quick and say a lot of stuff we're talking about, we're not just making up. Like a lot of technologies now are what we would consider to be science fiction, back then. So we're not. I mean, there is some speculation, obviously, but it is grounded in actual what we would call science, right? I mean, nanotechnology is a thing we use. Our phones literally have nano.
Yeah, they have micro
processors.
robots that eat oil. They have robots they're inventing to eat cancer. Yeah.
I don't know about that, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, see, he says stuff like that, and it's just, I don't know what to say. But yeah.
You don't believe they have robots, tiny ones that eat the oil off the top of the ocean? Wait. You don't believe that?
I believe it's a thing, but if you could like Scribe always tells me, I mean, Mr. Max MD, he's like, okay, well, where is that at? Like, show me the research, or like, show me some what you're talking about here. Like, give me some names, give me some papers, give me some websites or something. Like, show me something, and other than just saying like they have this. I just because
yeah, it's good because if we get a basic source that we can actually look at it, then definitely that's a good observation. But what do you know about the nanotech stuff? Like, do you think that you could take a liquid form and give that thing consciousness or animate it with code somehow through a Wi-Fi signal or something, or do you think it's something completely different?
I wanted to say, if we're talking about the movie, I mean, that thing was a standalone unit. It didn't need like a Wi-Fi signal in order for it to do what it was doing. I thought it was literally came back in time. So Skynet, I think it can connect to the Skynet, but at that time it literally went back in time. So I don't even think we're talking about the same type of technology, like, because it's just all hypothetical, anyways. As far as I hear, you're saying like we could probably use the ferro fluid and use some external something like machine to control the fluid to be like a robot. That Yeah, that's a thing they're doing, but I think that's a real primitive type of
But
way
I
of.
think the overarching thing of ferrofluid is the magnetism. So if you know how to harness the magnetism correctly, then you can do certain things like that. But when it comes to making a liquid form conscious, kind of like AI or something like that, yeah, well now we're talking a whole different
Yeah, you're gonna need
situation there.
processors. You're gonna need storage. You're gonna need memory banks. You're gonna need a lot of more stuff. And even
I'm
if
just saying
it
that goes
isn't,
way beyond that goes way beyond than creating a human or even cloning a human, right? Because we're talking something that's not biological.
I don't know how do we start talking about liquid robots?
Because MD brought up earlier, how do we think if it existed, how Terminator 2, how this robot could it get to this level to where they have something like this? And that was the question. That was like the initial question.
Oh yeah, I think so. I don't want to say how, but yeah, I think eventually, definitely. You can't even. I think MD said it before. You can't even like say make a prediction because if it comes true, they will be like they could blame you for something that you didn't even
No,
have
no,
anything to do with.
definitely, yeah, definitely. I'm just saying, yeah. So actually, I should have rephrased it. With our current tech of what we know, because we know there's other tech out there we can't touch. With our current tech, it doesn't vibe, it doesn't match. But yes, eventually, when things get so crazy advanced, it could lead up to that, and even crazier than that. And who knows what can happen. So that's what I'm saying. Once this AI thing starts coming into form, it's going to create new jobs we never heard about. It's going to create new scenarios we never heard about. It's going to create a whole new thing with hacking and all these things. It's a whole new reality, literally at this point. So we've shaped our own reality. So the fact we're shaping reality like that it's exciting, but at the same time frightening because, as they say, if once you let something like this out, I don't think there's a way to really completely shut it down. Once it's global, yeah. But it depends on why would you shut it down. I guess that's up to fate. I don't know.
Yeah, I dropped some of those things in the chat that you're asking about.
Okay, I'm gonna check it out. I know mirrored life is the thing they're talking about doing some kind of weird thing, but I don't know if that's anything to do with robots. Mirrored life.
Right. So
I'm
earlier I was
gonna go
talking
look in chat
to.
real quick. I'm sorry. I'm gonna look at the information.
All right. Yeah, so earlier retro, yeah, I'm just wanted to clarify that I was speaking from current technology being adapted to that versus okay, sometime in the future maybe something special happens. We can actually achieve something like that, but I think if it can be mentally thought, it could be created in some way.
Yeah, the first step of creation is the mind. So to put it in the mind, but then now AI can think. So it's just like if we let it think while we sleep, it could start doing stuff, huh?
Yeah, definitely. It's stuff that we can't even think about. That's what's crazy. It's like how do we when you look at evolution and you look at us and we're creating something that could literally um, be smarter, not only smarter but wipe us out situation. It's yeah, it's crazy. It's almost like something else came in. Here you go, play with this and see what happens. It's crazy. It's like going back to the Stone Age and just dropping off Black Hawk helicopter, and you just let them play with it and see what happens. Go ahead, yeah.
I mean, probably nothing because they didn't start out with the Wright brothers. You know, we start out with stuff. If you gave someone a submarine, they probably wouldn't know what to do with it. You know what I'm saying? They probably die before they used it properly. Don't you think?
Oh, yeah. There's gonna be like several people. That's like the one guy saying if you drop a reactor in the Victorian age and it's just sitting there, people, they're gonna look at it and be like, "What's that?" They're gonna start tinkering with it. They're gonna try to open it up, and once they get past the shielding, the radiation is gonna come out, and then they're gonna start dropping dead. And then after a while, they're gonna realize after like 10, 20 people die, they're gonna, oh, there's some invisible thing, and they're oh, so it's probably cursed or something. And
they give it an exorcism.
Yeah, exactly. But also, let's say you drop a motorcycle in that age, you leave the key in the thing. Eventually, they might be able to figure out how to turn it on and mess around with it and drive it around possibly. But they'll have no clue how even the plastic fender was built or any of the basic components were built, composites, whatever, and the engine parts and all that. It's going to be like, what in the world, So it's...
Yeah, just clothes. And some time travel movies, they pointed out, it's just like if your collar's on the wrong way or you got weird buttons, they're going to notice you if you time travel.
Yeah, apparently there's been instances of that. I mean, but
yeah, I want to mention one. I think we've all seen it. Mike Tyson's fight. Is that a real thing or is that just like AI?
Which one with
Mike Tyson?
There's a video where Mike Tyson is, fighting, and somebody has what looks like a modern day smartphone.
Oh, yeah. There was another short that came out and disproved that there was a thing that was made during that time that was like a vertical rectangular shaped phone or whatever. Not phone, but camera.
Yeah, there's like weird hearing aid things with extra handheld speakers that people listen to, or some other devices. That it was in a Charlie Chaplin movie also. Like there's someone that walking by with looked like a flat, cell phone, and it was some kind of weird hearing aid at that time where it was an amplifier for their hearing aid.
Have you guys heard of the Montauk Project?
Yeah, I mean that's all the Stranger Things stuff. I mean that's Terry Nichols and not Terry Nichols, Preston Nichols and his friends.
Yeah, Preston Nichols. Yeah,
not Terry.
So Low.
That's the Unabomber's cousin. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have Al Bielek and then his brother. I forget what his name was, but younger brother or something like
Duncan Cameron is the other guy.
Yeah, Duncan Cameron. Yeah, that's the younger brother. So apparently, what they were doing was
I think Duncan Cameron recently died. Al Bielek's been dead. So all of them, I don't know Preston Nichols if he's not in good health if he's around. So
yeah, I think it was obese, but yeah, I think all
the other guy was doing great.
Stuart Sorlow's the only one that's still alive, I think. But
okay,
you remember the story, right? There's a chair. Apparently, they got an alien chair.
Yeah, it ties up all the stories. So it ties the Philadelphia experiment. That's where they came from, and they pop out of the chair.
Yeah, Al Bielek and his brother said they did the Philadelphia experiment. That's when it disappeared, and then it came back, and then they saw soldiers stuck in the ground in the side of the hole and stuff. All that weird stuff. But apparently, the Montauk Project was the chair, and then these guys would come in. At the time, they're called the Montauk Boys, and they would sit in a chair, and they would apparently think of a time or try to go back in time, or I guess it was more about a mental thing and being able to think about a certain time period and creating a portal, and they had a transmitter and everything, and they create a portal, and you go through the portal, and apparently it takes you back to that time, but they found out that it wasn't that this time, it was a different timeline. It was like a parallel universe or something happening to where, take me back to Lincoln before he got shot or whatever. So they found out it wasn't, you could not manipulate
this timeline. Preston Nichols was a real engineer. I don't know his true military background, but he was like a electronic engineer, and he had all these radionic equipment. If you look at any interview with him, if you look at the stuff around him in his house, it's all these strange old radio equipment stuff, and it's a radionics, which was very bizarre stuff.
Oscillator, the oscillation stuff and all that.
You can't buy that stuff anymore.
That's like Tesla's technology too.
His borderline Tesla, his borderline Tesla stuff. So He was really into
Yeah,
it.
it's pre-Wi-Fi weird stuff where you're creating something. It's like radio voodoo. It's what
You
that
know,
stuff was.
it's really weird because I mean, radio is a thing that we still have, and at one point we had radios on like iPods and I think some phones, and for whatever reason they just decide to phase that out of the phones. Like, how much power do can we really have by using having this technology combined with the radio waves? Because there's a reason why they kind of like separated the two, I think.
I mean, yeah, they can use they wirelessly used a tower, a radio tower, to send a signal to everybody's rabbit ears in their house that gave them a visual picture with sound that was deciphered from a radio wave and a electron gun that's called a TV. So actually, that technology is pretty superior to a blip and a bip and an I and an O, which is all we have with digital. It's a it's a dash or a zero, and that's they switched us all to that for some reason. There's something with that other technology that they figured out that they don't want us to use it. Okay, that's why they switched it.
Yeah, the tube TVs, that was another thing. I know, I'm pretty sure there's some
Yeah,
stuff with that as well. The
that's
radar
a
gun, I
really high
think.
tech piece of equipment. I mean, you can take that thing out of the back of that old TV, and there's a way to bend light with what is inside of a television. There's like guys that do it on the internet. They like have these tubes with like photons in them, and they shoot them past whatever's inside the back of that TV, and it bends light.
I think it's got an electron gun or something like that.
Yeah, it's electron gun is what makes the picture, but it makes it from a radio signal, which is just invisible airwaves. So what else could it make a signal from? And where does that stuff really come from? And is there old radio waves that they found and they don't want us deciphering them? And is that the way the aliens are going to if they're real, since that's what we first sent them hellos with, are we cutting it off because we expect an answer soon?
I don't know. I'm not really into the whole alien bit.
Yeah, me neither. I don't think the
Really.
ones here are anything, but I mean something's going on. But it's usually supernatural stuff, and weird lights in the sky don't mean anything's from Zeta Reticuli.
Okay, I do believe that there are like aliens out there, but just the story that's being fed to us is what I don't believe in general.
Yeah, no, I hear you. The light in the back of the TV it's diffused in a way. It's not bent. They could say bent back. Diffused, but it happens with LCDs and LEDs, and it is kind of pretty advanced technology to just come up with. White Heat, good to see. He says genetic splicing. Yeah, yeah. When you get into all of that stuff, public was effectively
Yeah, it's a wireless video phone is what they invented, but they turned it into a programming machine. It's a wireless video phone. We all could have used it to say hello with video through empty airwaves without telephone cables. And for some reason they didn't want that to happen, and they gave us programming TV shows instead of us talking to our grandma in another state on it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, that was illegal. You're not allowed to cast your own signals. Only paid like corporations were allowed to do that. I think
Because
still
it's
now
too
that
easy. It's
yeah.
easier than it is now. I mean, we have YouTube now, which is pretty easy from our phone, but it's just a radio signal that makes a picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, ham radios. You can't have a ham radio either. Sorry, without a license. Okay, I'm done.
Well, that's the thing. There was a big thing a long time ago where they would say, "Who says you own the airwaves?" It's like building a ship and saying you own the ocean, and that's what we see with this cult of death disguising itself as if it was civilization, because that's not civilization. That is a cult of death, saying, "Oh, I built a radio tower and receiving platforms, so I own the airwaves." It's like, get that? What are you, nuts?
And they teach that in school.
Yeah,
they teach you all this in school.
Exactly. Alexis says, "Scribe, what's your take on why they put black pill predictive programming in movies? Is it a way for them to see who in the population is more aware than others? If Scribe is still in.
Yeah, it definitely shows the trend. It's like I almost second guessed that myself when I was growing up, middle school, high school, and I would notice that it's like if I act dumb, the more accepted I'll be. I remember questioning myself about that, or like if I try to pretend to be, skater or goth, whatever, or gangster, whatever. It's like this portraying this thing, you get accepted. So yeah, there's
Yeah,
definitely
predictive programming. Is that what you're saying?
tons of predictive programming. Yeah, in that, and it puts you like in a lower group. Like let's say you're intelligent, you're smart, but you have to fit into, let's say, the skater crowd or whatever, so you don't get beaten down or whatever. It puts you in the dumber. Yeah, and the movies definitely show the guy who's the Ben Stiller guy. The guy who's
Yeah, I mentioned this. I don't know if that was on this show, but I'll finish up. Sorry.
No, that was it. Yeah, go ahead. Good.
Well, it's about mythology, meaning I thought I mentioned on this show like that back in the day they like Hercules was the mythology because they wanted stronger men to build stuff and do stuff and be in the army and get stuff done and put the columns together. And I feel like it's the same thing. It's a mythology they expect us to grow into. We form into the vessel that we're given, and they give us a bunch of fucked up vessels now because they don't want us to form into something useful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it could be. It could be. Some of these humanoid tech companies that I don't know if you guys heard of Aptronic. So Aptronic is Texas-based robotics, and usually we hear about the MIT, the dog robots and stuff, but they partnered with Jabil to deploy an Apollo humanoid robot, and they're putting them on assembly lines to build copies of themselves. And New Atlas has a good article on that. Tesla's Elon Musk thing, publicly stated for a long time, the Tesla Optimus humanoid robot, they want that to make it a self-replicated von Neumann machine capable of building infrastructure and replicating. I don't trust none of these.
Y'all know the Xbox and probably Nintendo 64 lost probably $1 billion the day they came out because it was more technology than they were ready to put in a machine, and they were losing money, so they knew they would make money on the games.
Really?
So it's what's going on with these robots? They're not making any money on these robots. None.
I don't know, man. I don't know because they're getting them built at slave labor prices.
They look ridiculous. They're about 2 feet shorter than a person and made out of yarn, and they can't make it up a flight of stairs.
Regardless what they look like, the taxpayer Elon Musk gets more corporate welfare than the entire immigrant population receives in tax welfare.
I believe that incentives and stuff for military stuff.
That's why it doesn't cost them. Now the cost would be enormous. They wouldn't make money if it wasn't for that corporate welfare because it's so crookery, it's so cult to death that we're paying for that to be made. And then if we want to buy the robot, we'll have to pay for it again. And that's just like the tariffs. So we paid for the tariffs as the price increased, and now they're getting a refund. So they didn't even have so all it was the consumer got juiced for money. I mean, it was hard. I mean, you're looking at crookery on a grand scale and people don't even see it.
Well, it all is. That's the whole business of the world. Everything, including religion, is a business, and burying your loved ones. So
it's crazy. Well, I mean, I don't know. What would you like? I could see you could have loved ones kept in like a coffin, like mummified, or are you saying cremated in like
I mean, you can cremate people yourself, can't you? I mean, there should be a how-to course or something, right?
Yeah, well, you know what I noticed is they want control over that because that's another thing too. If people were in control of where their relatives go, because that's a big business, and especially with birth. I heard they sell the placentas. Placentas are worth, $15,000-$20,000 with stem cells and stuff like that. And something with the forms that women sign when they give birth, they give up their placenta and umbilical cord, which is some of them are up to $20,000, $30,000 right there, and they're getting charged. So you see, that's the crazy thing. When you look at the business of that, the business of hospital, you start to see like, wow, this is it's very messed up, especially
It's
when
predatory.
yeah, it's predatory. They're constantly to
Like
give.
down payments on a car, it just goes right to the dealership. They don't really take it off the loan. They're like, "Thank you," and that's just the handshake to do business.
Yeah, and it's even worse because some of these tests you can get lifelong illness. Women have gotten problems with the breast mammograms. The cervical brush used to do the Pap smear is said to be coated with chemicals that are known to cause certain diseases. So,
They found
and
out also, speaking of that, baby powder for a long time that
which
what
are
we were
through
using had issues.
yeah, the talc powder, they're going through legal issues with that. And anybody can look these things up. It's just it's public knowledge that a lot of these companies that have these pink washing, they call it breast cancer with the pink ribbons. They call it pink washing because the chemicals in Estee Lauder and some of the products have been said to cause the problems that they're doing the same fundraiser for. It's so insane when you think about it. And that's one part. But then to know that and to just walk past it and see how people aren't even caring about this. It's like, do you understand how hypocritical the irony of companies that are polluting things, people, products and all of that with the same chemicals that cause the problem, that they're now having a campaign saying, hey, we're going to have a breast cancer awareness month and stuff like that and fund it, so our product, line Estee Lauder is funding this. So now that's an advertisement. And women, if they go and use those creams, are putting the same chemicals that are known to cause the stuff that these people are claiming to do a fundraiser to help people so they can stop people from getting that. It's literally insane. Same thing with government, the same people, the same person, they put the tariff on, that charge people more. Now he's reimbursing them. We're paying this twice because we paid for the raise in the tariff prices, and now we got to pay for the reimbursements that they get. It's like, what the hell? I can't even believe people don't see this. This is the level of government, of the mental manipulation, what a high level of psychology it's on, that it's easy for people to miss this. It's very easy. There's stuff I miss every day. And I'm trying to catch up with it, saying, holy smokes, these guys they're so smart. They can talk you into something without even know you've been talked into it if you don't keep your mental shields up. And that's what people do when you see people that wake up for a second and then they come back and say, well, they said they were going to do this for us. And it's like, you believe in them now? It's like, holy smokes. It's a very, very high level of psychological manipulation that the cult of death pushes onto the denizen.
I would like to add. I would like
Mhm.
to add to that for what you're saying. They admit it themselves. They say everything, or anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of law.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like that's them admitting, like, yo, it doesn't matter what, if you're right or wrong, we're gonna use this. We're gonna use anything and everything you say
Even if
against you.
it proves your innocence, we're going to use it against you.
Yeah. Yeah. It really, it's horrible. The fact that, also we know that cops become a cop in 6 months, and it takes lawyers, what, 4 or 5 years to pass the bachelor's to understand the laws. But,
I want to. I want to add this to what you just said about cops, because I was thinking this yesterday. Cops aren't made; they're appointed. They're appointed guards to control the civilians. That's what I was thinking. Because I was thinking about like leaders being made, or like warriors being made, or soldiers. Because I remember we were talking about soldiers, and I started thinking about cops, and I was like, they're appointed. They're appointed guards for the
yeah,
civilians. Okay, that's it.
exactly. Yep. You're right. You're right. The crazy thing is people don't even care. They don't even like we know this and it should have us a little more concerned too, but most people are just out to lunch. They will literally defend the fact that they can be violated. And now Canada is having something where they have a psychiatrist come out and can tell police to arrest you. There's a film on YouTube with a guy getting arrested because the psychiatrist had asked him a few questions and said this guy isn't mentally fit to drive, or and I was like, what the heck? I mean, it's getting to where it's like some of these movies like Equilibrium. Oh, he's not sane. Matter of fact, they've pulled the insanity card for the longest. We did a whole stream on that. Has the government declared everyone insane? And basically that's what they use. It's a what was it called? The law was something proclivitous about the kings proclaiming that people need to be governed because they're too stupid to take care of themselves. And on top of that, they're insane. So if they're not unable to take care of themselves due to stupidity, they are insane, and they need the government to take care of them, to take control of their possessions. And so when you look at some of the stuff that these people have made up, it's crazy. Great knowledge comes great risk. Good to see you, brother. He says, is Trump and the rest of these puppets truly evil, or are they victims of the elites forced to do their work due to their families and their own lives being threatened? I think honestly, they don't care about the lower echelon of people, so they're more than happy to do this and also be controlled. So that's the type of people that the people behind the scenes look to get, are the controllable ones, the ones that are the most horrible with giving into their ego, their greed, their lust. And we see a lot of greed. We see a lot of greed. We see a lot of pride, which we also see with the war and stuff like that. I mean, just really low frequency that allows these people to be controlled and use. Yeah.
And I would like to add also, they're already going after our kids and our families and our loved ones. Like that's happening already. Regardless if you're trying to fight for them or with them, they're implementing their plans and brainwashing the masses regardless. And typically, what you're talking about, where they're like, if they can't get you, they're gonna go for the ones around you. That's like an extreme thing that does happen, and I think that happens like that's their last solution type of thing, in my opinion. Okay, that's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, it's they are lurking behind the scenes on everything. It's as if we're in one big experiment. The Trinity hypothesis that I have of humanity is part zoo. So we see the zoo. We're definitely in the zoo. The farm, which they clearly looks like they're farming us, and the lab to gain data, experimenting on us. And what we see seems to fall in these three categories. It seems to really fall in these three categories, one of them, or all three.
Even not just experimenting on us, but the extraction of our imagination, because they don't even have one, and they need our imagination to come up with new things. I think,
Yeah,
personally.
that's actually makes a lot of sense, because I feel like that with AI too. If you talk to AI about ideas, it's stealing those ideas. It's
Yeah, it doesn't have anything original.
Yeah, it's adding it into any type of picture you draw. You add, boom, that's in. So it's like I've noticed that, yeah, because there's been certain ideas I've had for other books that I didn't publish, and I said, let me ask AI a question about this or that I have in a chapter, and it'll, I'm like, okay, now it knows what I was writing about, and it remembers it. So if ever something else comes up, it'll bring that up, because it's when I think about it,
Yeah,
I'm
it's
like,
getting better at it.
yeah, yeah, we are feeding it, and it's able to have access to feed itself. It's kind of like when the Transformers movie, when that helicopter robot came down on the army base and plugged in and hacked right into the computers, and was downloading stuff like quicker than they could ever even comprehend.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then you look at that, the fact that it's a mechanical form of life. I mean, it's amazing. Like that whole transformer concept, even though the special effects were just, to me, a little too overkill, because it was hard to really see stuff. It was very detailed, but too detailed, actually.
Yeah, I've
Um,
heard that complaint a lot.
yeah,
Definitely.
yeah, very. It could have been so good if it wasn't as detailed as that. It just a little bit of toning down the volume on the detail, but nonetheless, the idea itself was like, wow. So something that's sentient, that can scan something, now it can turn into it, and it also has the ability to fly and shoot weapons, and it's like, holy smokes, it's like, this is it is a type of biological life form, and it fuels itself through energy. And then you get into the cube, and and then you realize, wait a minute, there's a big cube that the Muslims worship, that they walk around, and then also the cube of Metatron from Christianity. So you see different cultures have this cube. I'm pretty sure Azvaroon might be able to think of something where they might have had one in
In India.
yeah, yeah, yeah. What's up, Mr. X? How's everything?
Hey, yeah, just hopping back on, with work tonight. But no, interesting subject. I don't pretend to know an expert, and I don't pretend to know where AI is going to lead us. But these data centers, I'm going with the clues. They got something big planned. That's for sure. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
I think it was Seven Psychopaths. He had mentioned in a comment about the beginning part of Blade Runner 2046, though 2049, the new one, that
Mhm.
he's flying in a craft, and all you can see is what looks like to be data centers.
Yeah. Oh,
And
that's good.
yeah, it's like, holy
But that's
smoke.
it's becoming real life now.
Yeah, yeah,
It really is. And if there's any leakage, because they're going to use nuclear
yeah,
power, I think that's a done deal. If there's any leakage, we're going to see the same
yeah.
thing as the Matrix, destroyed cities, radioactive cities.
And that Blade Runner is only set like 32, 33 years in the future.
Wow.
2049, it's 2026. So it's only, a few decades. It's only like 32 years in the future. It's not too far, man. And
Who could have thought? Who could
yeah,
have thought it'd become real world? That it's exciting in a way for me.
it
I think
is.
it's exciting. To be honest.
Very is. It's very exciting. It's like, wow, we are seeing this thing go so quickly, so fast. Timbo, good to see you. He says, definitely agree with that hypothesis. And the zoo farm lab, I no longer say this place is a school because of the amnesia we seem to have. Yeah, yeah, it's more, there's sometimes where that lab part comes out strong. It's like the laboratory, the farm, the zoo lab, the zooish lab. Some of us go through that, like, in life. It's just, yeah, straight zoo lab,
But I noticed some too, MD, just to say, people are seeming to be so zombified because they always say, "Oh no, AI is going to take over. Oh no, this and that. It's going to be bad for the universe." It's like everything is bad. We all die. This is not meant to be. It's not the movies. It's not supposed to be the hero wins and everything's back to normal. It's just there is no normal. At the end of the day, it's just this is just a temporary existence that we have. People have to look at it differently. You know, I don't
yeah,
know. They just seem so zombified by Hollywood. They're always looking for the winner, the hero. You know what I mean?
yeah. That's what they're bred. That's the program. That's the debate. That's the, oh, you're presenting an argument instead of presenting evidence.
Yeah.
So they don't want somebody to present evidence. They can't even recognize it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I've noticed AI will bring that up and will slowly try to say stuff like that. But the more I mention it, the less it does it. I've noticed that, where it says, oh, in this book, this author presents the argument of this. And I'm like, no, he's not presenting the argument. He's presenting evidence that shows it contradicts the it's evidence. I don't know if contradicts is the right word, but it rewrites the theory. So any theory of evolution or whatever, or theory of human origins, is rewritten according to new evidence. But
Sure.
people don't see just how they are constantly controlling the past so they can control the future. And the control of the present is really where the fight for the past is, because this is why we're seeing such a big resistance to try to say, wait a minute, you have to expand these timelines and these things for human civilization and certain artifacts and technology that we keep finding to fit the model of human origins. But they're not doing that. They're making sure places can't be searched to find deeper, mysteries, uncover answers to the mysteries of humanity, of ancient civilizations, of underwater. It's always, no, 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 look out here. We're going to send something to map the moon, but we're not going to map the ocean, which is here, which can be done because you're not, I mean, you could send a something that actually, rides on wheels, or a walking type of, quadruped robot, to go down deeper and to search. This is the deeper you get down there too, you're not going to be hit with the currents that you get hit with on the top, or right underneath the first couple of meters of seawater.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, the evolutionists, the people on the other channels, that guys you've debated, this is how stupid they are. It's just like they're defending something that was implemented to keep us dumbed down, to keep us ignorant of our past, or of what happened in the past, our origins, our reality. They're defending ignorance, is what they're really doing. They don't even know it. The evolution theory was meant for the masses, to keep them stupid. That's what it was for. You know?
Well, there's another part of the theory that's mainly taught to the professors and teachers, and it's not too hard to find. Like, it'll bring that up also with AI when it's trying to squirm out of saying that evolution is not scientific. It'll go as far as to say, yes, it is inference. There is a lot of it that isn't scientific, that it is inferring, which is not illogical, but it could definitely be wrong. And it's a pretty strong inference too. So yeah.
But I wonder about that. I wonder AI might be saying that today because it's sort of at the mercy still. But once these data centers are built and AI really has more control over everything, if they'll change their tune and not go along with the evolutionary belief. You know what I'm saying? That now that it has more of the power and control, it no longer needs to be so subservient to the programming. I wonder.
Yeah, I think that might end up happening, especially with the whole fact that they are doing genetic modification and engineering and stuff, and they're just going to try to normalize it as much as possible. So trying to blur the lines between the natural and the normal is a thing science, or like pseudoscience, tries to do all the time. And I think that the breakaway from traditional thought belief systems and evolution would further their agenda when it comes to the acceptance of like the splicing of genes and different creatures just emerging from who knows where.
I wonder if AI was going to want to be worshipped. So, evolution is nonsense. Just, I'm the one to be worshipped at some point. It's going to be.
I think evolution is AI worship, because the same people that want to say everything came from nothing are the ones that are so quick to start to worship this thing. And maybe not worship it in a straight, like deity type of thing, but I wouldn't put it past those cults. I wouldn't put it past people putting on robes.
They're definitely worshiping it like a deity. The whole Roku's basilisk thing, like, people are actually scared of that. Elon Musk is afraid of Roku's Basculus.
What is that for Roku's?
You don't know what that is?
Me neither.
What? That's crazy.
I don't know what
Okay,
it is.
so it's a thought experiment where basically there's this supercomputer, and this is considered cognito information, or I forgot what it's called. It's certain type of information that is like hazardous, because once you know about it, then it's supposed to like be like an infection, basically, like some kind of mental mind meme or something. And they're basically just saying like there's a computer in the future. This is a thought experiment. If you don't help it get made, then it goes back to the past or something, and it kills you because you didn't want to help it, or it makes you feel eternal pain, or like it puts you in a hell or something. I don't know. It's kind of psychotic, to be honest with you, but it's a thing that
Roko's Basilisk? Is that what you're talking about?
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a thought experiment, but yeah, it's a future AI that's going to hunt down the people that don't like it now.
Yeah, and there's actual like mentally unstable people who believe in that and have a lot of money and are attempting to make sure that this thing gets built.
Well, it's not a thing. It's just how people think about the artificial intelligence. There could be 1,000, 1,000,000, 1,000,000,000,000 different artificial intelligences, and this one could be swallowed by an update. So, they could try to build it, but they're going to end up updating the hell out of it till it's, got a mullet and sunglasses and doesn't really care.
Hey, Retro, I want to ask you a question. What's your opinion on this data center they're going to build in Utah that's the size of Manhattan? Why are they doing this? Why do they need that much space? A 60-mile data center.
I think that they don't want to, they want to go ahead and get it now, and that's the price of the land. They don't want to wait, and they're going to shrink the technology, but that doesn't mean they're going to shrink the spaces they're going to use it in. They want to put more and more and more in the space. So imagine that filled with 40 times as many computers because they can fit it in 5 years, kind of thing. It's a race against, China and stuff is what they're doing with the technology, because their data centers are basically giant computers, meaning they're hooking all these things together to make a bigger computer to try to beat China at something.
So the whole world's going to turn into a giant computer, it looks like, eventually. it's
welcome to Cybertron.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy, man. Yeah, Cybertron is that's a good description of it. Yeah.
But it seems like they're racing for. Imagine this is like a mine. The whole AI data mining, those data centers. It's almost like a gold mine, and the gold mines didn't stay open. So so something's going to give at some point where they find what they're looking for and they trash a bunch of this stuff.
Yeah. What I try to understand is what is the value of a Bitcoin? Like when they use these, I guess, computers to mine for Bitcoin, what is the value of that? Like what? Like I can.
The main value is there's a limited amount, and it's supposed to be hard to mine and hard to get someone else's and hack it. So you can encrypt it, and it's hard to get, and there's a limited number. That's the only thing that gives it value.
And and also there in the beginning there was anonymity to it, but now everything is very much tracked. And yeah,
like gold can be used to make computer circuits, silver too, copper, silicon. But what is Bitcoin? What can it be used to do? Not as currency, but like what is it? Is it like some type of code? Is it some type of real mineral? But like
it's a piece of code. That's it.
So it's a piece of code.
Well, there's a whole infrastructure behind it. Like you need a computer to,
Yeah, but why is this piece of code worth something? What can it do? Like that's what I'm trying to figure out. Like what is
the encryption
thing? It can make money. It can make money. You buy it, you sell it, you trade it. It's just a way to make money. Anything that makes money, they're going to play with.
Why do people want to buy it, sell it, and trade it? That's what I'm saying.
Bitcoin has this thing. It's called like the blockchain, and that was a new thing where it's like making sure digital authentication is easier to verify. And there was still, again, like this anonymity to it, so you could put currency, you could put real world value into it, like people put money into it. I don't know exactly how that works.
Yeah,
I
that's what I'm trying to figure out. How does that, like, if you're digging in the mind and you
I think it
find,
was a government made thing, to be
It
honest.
was some
I think the
bank
government made
robbers
it.
that initially used a bunch of it back in the day, something to do with the Panama Bank or some kind of Caribbean bank, some bank robbers. That was the first major usage of it, was some kind. There's people using it for little things, but eventually some bank robbers or something were moving money around in the Caribbean and grabbed a bunch of Bitcoin.
Yeah, and also calling the kettle black. Talk about calling the kettle black. They ended up putting, I don't know how many people that had Bitcoin, because once Bitcoin shot up and it was worth billions, or people were becoming billionaires overnight, the government started arresting certain people who I guess weren't in the circle or allowed to have so much money, and they were like, "You were Bitcoin is a part of human trafficking, and it's a part of all this stuff that is not good, and you have Bitcoin, so we're throwing you in jail because you're a part of this whole investigation that's going on." And they only threw certain people in jail. Yeah,
Yeah, they
so
locked people up like it was a DEA IRS thing. Yep.
really?
so you can't have money. Literally, it's everyone.
Yeah, some of the
It,
original people are all gone that helped and were moving this stuff around that weren't caught for any major thing, but they were caught moving it around.
And they were, so like moving it what, from one account to another?
I mean, people that were actually, I mean, the Ross Ulbricht guy he was running that business, but anybody tied up to it way back then was seen as criminal, even if they weren't using it criminally. If you had enough of it, they knew you weren't paying taxes on it, and they knew you were playing with it, and that they were trying to, like he said, there was only people in a certain club of, like FTX was in the club until they weren't, the Bankman Fried guy with his girlfriend. I mean, they were in the club until they weren't, right?
Why weren't they in the club? Did they not pay something?
Yeah, I mean, they were helping out a bunch of politicians and moving around a bunch of money back and forth to Ukraine, and they were doing something with a side business to make it look profitable. They were dumping a bunch of money into a business that was buying their own stuff. That's what a lot of these businesses do, the giant ones. That's what supposedly NVIDIA is doing with Elon Musk. They've created a third company that buys a big chunk of the NVIDIA chips that makes it look like they're constantly in demand, but it actually, a third of them are automatically bought by a fake corporation that guy built NVIDIA with Elon Musk.
Wow.
I thought that was just good business.
I do too, but somebody pointed out to me that used to work with them, and he said it's not good business. And I'm like, oh, okay. But I was like, that's the way, right? It's just like, if it looks good on paper, it looks good and it makes money, right? So I don't, something to do with the NVIDIA stuff and the stocks and those new chips that him and Elon have created some kind of third, I think starts with an A, whatever the name of the company is. And it basically owns 20 to 30% of the chips before they're even made, and they're already bought and paid for, but it's just a conglomerate company that they've created to create more need for the chips because they've already swallowed 20+% of them. So they're creating a demand that doesn't really exist and getting rich off of it.
Yeah, the stock is quadrupled, right? So
yeah, for the NVIDIA. Yeah. So, and also they'll own a bunch of it with this third corporation if they need to sell it off later, so it's like, they're double dipping themselves. But I mean, I said that sounds like straight business practice. Like if anybody had enough money in an extra corporation, it seems like a lot of companies do this, and FTX was doing that as well, but they went under for, they got caught, I guess, when people wanted their money out of it and realized it's a pyramid scheme because you can't get your money out of it.
Makes sense.
Wow. Yeah, I've heard that about it. I've heard that, yeah, when people try to get their money out, they tell them some crazy stuff like you got to put more in to get your money out. It's like, what are you, crazy? So it's like, yeah, just.
Has anybody here ever cashed in their Bitcoin for real cash?
No. Have you?
No, but I accidentally bought someone an old Cash App that's on an old phone that I just forgot about, and I'm hoping one day it'll be worth like fried sardines. You know what I mean? Like, I'll just have this $40 worth of Bitcoin from 6 years ago.
I did
That's
buy some Dogecoin and then I sold it at a profit and then it crashed. I remember.
So
what
you,
was the profit in cash or in crypto?
No, cash. I converted to cash through the Robinhood and everything like that.
So you converted yourself on the platform?
You just buy the coin and sell the coin, basically.
Yeah, because Cash App has them built in now. You can play with crypto on Cash App itself and put your cash into it.
that's crazy. That is crazy. It's like they are, I mean, that's like kind of just making it very easy for people to take money and put it into that.
Yeah, but it defeats the purpose again of what it was supposed to be for, because supposedly it was for anonymity, but in reality, there's nothing anonymous on the internet. They were trying to say the internet itself was anonymous. It was just for the whole switch over to digital currency, I think. In my
Yeah,
opinion.
they tried to say Nikki Haley couldn't run for office because she said no one needs to be anonymous on the internet anymore. And they're like, ha ha ha, we're gonna do that anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and especially with flock cameras and all of that, it's not just no privacy on the internet. It's anywhere. Like people are trying to fight these flock cameras by putting stuff over them, but it's a tough one. It's a tough one. We live in a surveillance state. It's just what it is. It's like
It's only going to get worse, too. It's only going to get worse. I'm sure we're going to have a digital currency paying us that universal income, and your behavior could probably lose money on your currency.
yeah,
And the worst thing is it's not an issue that we're being surveilled, right? And monitored like 24/7. The issue is like, why is there still how many kids go missing? How many adults
a
end up
million.
going missing every year, and just nobody knows, but we're all being monitored, and we can't say one word without getting in trouble for it. But no one knows where anyone went.
You're right. That's a very good point. It's a very good
Well, it
point.
tells you who's doing it then. It comes from the top.
Yep. Yep. It shows you right there. Was the app's name Apptronic, the one you were talking about that make the thing? Or maybe it was something different, because this one is they build robotics too. But they're also having these microscopic replications. So there's an institute that inspired biologically engineered stuff, xenobots actually, and at Harvard and Tufts universities. And they call it the first ever living robots built from frog cells. They are going straight Dr. Frankenstein up in here. AI designed organisms can swim, collect single cells, and assemble new baby xenobots.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, Michael Levings. He hasn't that been like since 2016, 2017? He's been doing that.
It's the Wyatt Institute at Harvard. You could look up some of the stuff. It probably have the dates. It's not. I don't think it's new. It's probably a couple years old. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty. That's pretty old. That's a pretty old paper too. Michael Levings. I've been watching his videos and stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah, he's interesting.
Yeah. That MIT, of course, researchers at MIT Center for Bits and Atoms.
Right now, he
Hmm?
sorry. You're so talking now. Okay, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Again.
Right now, he's literally working on bioelectricity and figuring out how to grow like two-headed worms and make different, like a mouse grow back a limb and different things like that, like regeneration.
Wow. Yeah, these are swarms of tiny robots. They have another type capable of constructing, making larger versions of themselves. So kind of like a miniature Voltron type of thing. Wow. That is crazy, man. So they are, it's here. Yeah.
Yep.
He's using frog cells, single cells of frogs, and the human trachea.
Holy smokes. This is straight Frankenstein. Holy, it's like
Pretty
what?
soon, there'll be robots who will think they're human. They'll be
This is the
robots.
lab. This is the lab. This is the farm. It's so lab farm. It's crazy.
Hmm?
Trachea cells or human trachea, you said, and frog cells.
Yep, human trachea cells and frog cells. Single
That
cell.
it's like what? Holy smokes,
And
man!
he didn't even do much. He just like, but he said he didn't have to program or them or anything. They just started doing things, and he. Oh well, he did. You know, like he said, there was this whole AI programming that was involved, but he said he just threw them there, and then they just started doing their thing.
It's as if they picked the cells somehow. How did they know? But they got the cells that were, I guess, most adapted to the AI to say, okay, these cells will work better with the AI program that we're going to merge it with.
It's because they recently cracked, I believe, the human genome, and they like figured out how to code it or decode it or something, and
Oh,
with
they've
the
been learning
AI
a lot.
thing,
Yeah, yeah. Like the genetic editing
CRISPR.
sequence, yeah, CRISPR. So that alone was like finding like a diamond mine or something way beyond. I mean, CRISPR, because not only CRISPR is something that they're using on other uh, organisms, like
I
they've
remember
clipped
when they discovered it, National Geographic had a whole segment on it. They announced it, and yeah, I think it was on the news too.
yeah, CRISPR, I think they edited out the gene in apples that make it brown. So now they got apples that no matter if you cut them, it won't get brown. And it's like, holy smokes. I mean, just messing around with stuff it's just, I mean, it's insane.
So pretty much, we'll have a real life RoboCop. Pretty much.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's true. I could see that. I mean, RoboCop that alone was a commercial. You know, it was set in Detroit, and there was a good few things with RoboCop that were definitely look like some futuristic stuff. I forgot what it was. Like it was the irony of it, where you had a corporation that basically created cyborg cops trying to rule the population.
Yeah.
And RoboCop was the one that I guess uncovered it when he uh, the second CEO was Dick Jones, right? I forgot the guy who played him, but you know when he ended him, and then yeah, I think they even they went on with a few RoboCops, RoboCop 2, trying to definitely RoboCop was again one of those films that showed stuff with the future, because not only was it the cop, like that's how they sell it to you. Oh, this cop, this criminal killer cop, and now they're trying to put criminals in there. That was RoboCop 2. And then they tried to, that whole cyborg thing, man. Yeah, it's crazy, man.
The original Tron was like 1983 or something. That the Dillinger guy had a whole office. He had a touchscreen giant desk in his room in his office. It was like all touchscreen.
Yeah, yeah. And even if you go before that with I think it was Moonraker, you see flat screen TVs. And this is
Oh,
the time, yeah, where, matter of fact, Star Trek is a flat screen TV from
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
yeah. What we think of the internet was invented before we knew about it because we weren't in the right circle. So
yeah,
I don't know what age group we are, but like what I thought was computers and internet was later than there was an initial kind that pre-existed.
yeah,
So I didn't learn about it until I read this book about that missing kid in Michigan or something, as the Dallas Egbert case. And this like genius kid at 15 went to college or something, and he ended up disappearing, trying to run away from home or his parents, and all these people were looking for him. But apparently he was playing D&D like all high tech with some kind of corporate people in the 80s on an internet server, like some kind of early version of the internet. They were playing D&D on it, and more than just like a college like talking to a printer from another room. And I was like, whoa. And it's like in the book, and this is about the early 80s.
wow. Wow. That's yeah, man. When I think of the amount of computer stuff that they've had from back decades, it shows me just even the and it seems almost unbelievable, but when you look at just the movie Metropolis, a silent movie in the 20s, a robotic lady, just the curves and the way that they bent the metal, it's like, wait a second, this is not uh some crude type of creation. And then as you go forward to movies like Fantastic Planet, that was another one with the machines that would make whatever you thought about kind of like AI. And then what it did was it it started to go deep into the mind, into the shadow part and the subconscious, and it found monsters that live within us called the id, and it created them. So because it could create anything, you think about something and it created. So just the way with AI, you think about it, but you got to type it in, and it's going to create a little movie or a picture. This would create the actual thing.
There's still a lag, no matter if you're, I feel like if you're typing, thinking, there's still, like, y'all, right? Like the time it takes to find the right screwdriver to put it on the screw. It's like there's something in us that there's an auto lag, not just in us, meaning in our surroundings, meaning nothing can happen fast enough. I think even if our thoughts went straight into the machine, like we type, there's still some lag, because the time it takes to think and say, this is what I want to do, you could already be doing it.
Yeah. Christopher says it was called MUD, Multi-Union Dungeons. I guess that was from Dungeons and Dragons. Good to see you, Christopher. Yeah, that I think that's from, you guys were saying something about Dungeons and Dragons. I think.
Yeah, it was me saying, like, in some early 80s, there was some kind of forums where you could get online and be dungeon masters, and this was way before normal internet. And I didn't know about it until I read this book, and I was like, whoa, because I had early computers myself. I had a ZX81, an Apple II clone, and like very early computers, but I wasn't playing online games until Ultima 7 or something was the first thing I think I played online.
Internet, what was that, in 91? AOL?
I mean, it took me, all I did was email and scan things in. I didn't really understand social media, and there was chat rooms inside of AOL or Yahoo. There was like chat rooms. You just went into a chat room and could just start talking. You didn't know anybody, but you could give them your email, and you could scan a photograph and look at them in an email.
Okay. And this was what, the 90s?
Yeah, this was probably around 94, 93. It was really sketchy, I have to say. The internet wasn't, I think 94 is when you could definitely scan in a photo and get an email of it and talk to someone in the chat room within 40 minutes all in the same time, you know?
And what was it, like music? You could go to music sites or no?
No. The music wasn't streaming yet. It wasn't even streaming music yet. So that took a little while longer. The speed wasn't fast enough when it was dial up to have really good music yet. It took a while. They couldn't stream movies or music it took a while.
Wow, because I thought there was some videos on YouTube about AOL in 91, 92, and they just, it's like somebody has like a computer and they're playing it, you know, like it's just music. Like I don't know if
the computer itself needed special sound cards to play good music back then. You had to have an upgraded computer just to understand decent music.
Wow.
It was just bleeps and bips unless you had some high-end sound card back then. And there was special sound card brands that were all the rage that people wanted.
And would they go to like the late 90s and then it got a lot better?
I'm trying to think of the big computing changes. Well, it was the Pentium. So the Pentium really broke all the ground, I think. So when they went from 386 on, so 386 was the last utilitarian computer, I think. And after that, it became the people's computer from 486 on, meaning they were made for school children to understand school and encyclopedias and do stuff. So they weren't really for kids at all until the 486. like implemented a bunch of stuff that could be used for kids. There was stuff in all of them for kids, but this was a very utilitarian piece of equipment. This was not a children's thing until the 486. And I think the 486 was kind of like the very first Nintendo of computers, where it could do a lot more, and you were supposed to tell your kids about it and sit them down and they could do all their schoolwork on it, you know?
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. X, for the support, brother. He says MD is the man. Thank you, man.
Yeah, thanks, man, for having these streams, pushing it every night. I know it's hard work, you know, but I appreciate the work you've done, because it's keeping me entertained and keeping me thinking. And so I appreciate it, you know, because I know you put a lot of effort into this. So I really appreciate it.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Appreciate the support. Yeah, man. Every night trying to stream, you know, some nights a little earlier, some nights, you know, definitely around 10. Yeah, man.
But we cover some topics and I get some views, and I appreciate, you know, Retro coming on here, giving his views.
Yeah.
And also with the mind and everybody else that comes on, because it gets me thinking and gets me more aware of what's going on in this world.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I might not think about it as much as I used to.
Yeah, I try to contribute.
Yeah. The mind contribute a lot of. So I didn't know about that. What was it, Rosa something? The AI entity.
Rocco's Basilisk, Rocco Basilisk, or something like that.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
a thought experiment where a future AI will come hunt down the people that didn't want it to happen. Yeah.
I mean, the frog
Yeah.
cells thing, I just looked that up. I never would have known about this thing. Never would have known about it until you mentioned it, MD. You know what I mean? I have no clue. And now, oh, wow, there's another thing I have to look into. You know what I mean?
Thanks, man. Yeah, the frog thing. They also had another one with I saw it a while ago. It was either brain cells or brain and blood cells. And this one I got to look up again more. It's something with them using brain, blood, maybe even some tissue, but they feed it and they keep the cells nourished, and they use it as a type of CPU for computer. And it's crazy. It's literally, when you think about it, it's like here. Let me see if.
I mean, that's like old. They
been
try
doing
to
that
keep
since,
brains in jars alive for 200 years now. It's weird science. They've been doing. I mean, computer
they're
thing is
definitely doing that.
I mean, it's kind of scary if you think about it. The need for
It's
human
got
tissue.
organoid computers, or something like that.
My Wi-Fi network used to be named Boltzmann Brain, and it's like the idea that this is all a simulation of one weird brain that basically doesn't have eyes, nose, or mouth, or a body, and it dreamt into existence all this other stuff because it never had it, and it just really can't do anything else except constantly dream and think of reality.
What if a computer could dream something and it gets like how we have dreams and we don't know where they're coming from? How would it know? You know, I just looked up. It says yes, scientists and tech companies are actively developing biological computers that utilize living human brain cells.
Oh my goodness!
So it's an emerging field called biocomputing, or wetware. Replaces traditional silicon transistors with lab-grown neurons to process information and learn. Holy
Well,
Wow.
there we go to the earlier thing. We could shove this into the fluid thing, at least maybe give him a little wet Ziploc bag with this stuff in it, where Fluid Man can hold it.
Those are market available. So if you want to buy one, you can literally buy one and they'll ship one to your house.
They say
humanoids are coming. Humanoids are coming.
They're saying they take skin or blood cells, reprogram them into stem cells, and they're grown into tiny 3D clusters of neurons called brain organoids. Fusing with silicon, these neuron clusters are placed on silicon microchip arrays outfitted with tiny electrodes. The electrodes transmit electrical pulses into the cells, acting as input, and record how the cells react, acting as output. And the notable breakthroughs is learning to play games. Researchers at Cortical Labs demonstrated how a cluster of 200,000 living brain cells could learn to play nostalgic video games like Pong and Doom. Commercial biocomputers. So these things are programmable enough to where it can play a video game. That's crazy.
I mean, what are we gonna do? Put it in a cat collar and let our dogs play video games with it? I mean, it's gonna be like playing a video game with just the, you know what I'm saying, the computer. So you can add another player with the computer. Why do we need this? What is this
And
gonna do?
also, the thing they don't tell you in the research paper is it only lives for like a couple of weeks at the most. They got it to live for a couple of months because
Yeah.
the conditions aren't right. It's supposed to be in certain like uh, conditions and stuff, and they're literally not perfected it yet. It's an emerging technology.
They got to learn how to. In one, I saw
They got to breed it with the Venus flytrap or that whatever, that death plant or whatever.
They were nourishing it. I forgot how they were nourishing the cells, and that's how they got it to stay for a couple of months or something like that.
But it also proves against evolution. Again, the cells can't last too long out there. You know?
Yeah, and they would have to have a current. Yeah, I mean, this just is
If
so.
God can build a duck-billed platypus, we have the right to make something a little weird, right?
I mean, yeah, this is like just looking at some of the things in the
This
natural.
real life Frankenstein, like you said, MD. It's a real
Yeah,
life
this
Frankenstein.
is and it says that the world's first code deployable biological computer, which allows developers to run tasks on real neurons by way of the cloud network. So, and then they go into why they use brain cells, because the human brain runs on an estimated 20 watts of power, whereas artificial intelligence data centers consume gigawatts. So this is like extremely energy efficient by using the
And
brain.
this was the initial plot for the Matrix. But they thought that the audience and at the time wouldn't understand like biological computing or anything like that, so they just stuck to generating electricity. But yeah, this was the initial plot. They were using it for the brains in the Matrix to process the digital world that they were actually in.
This is crazy that it's real. That it goes.
Yeah, I think I told you guys like a week or so ago, like my AI platform kind of got hacked or whatever, my generic Gemini thing. And I had already programmed it for months and months and months and months and months to be my interface. And there's only a few things missing out of the program. And one of them was my brain stuff, was they took it.
Yeah, I remember you saying something.
They only took a few things from it. And it was like they extracted it from my program. So it's not allowed to. I have to do that part again. Or they needed it.
It's like how you said with the Bitcoin thing, the fact that they took people away. It's like they took some of your stuff, you know. It kind of reminds me like when you just said with the Bitcoin, it's like, who knows what these people would do? It's like
it was a Freudian questionnaire we made up of like 220 questions to map my brain, and we just went bump, 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 bump all the way through it. It took like days to get through it, and they stole it. Like it's my answers are there, but the questions aren't there. It's like so weird. There's different chunks missing of the whole thing we went through, and there's like most of all the information is there of every other conversation when I look.
Wow, man, that's yeah, they everything is under surveillance, man, and we think, you know, what we're doing is not being watched very closely, and like you said, they just took it. It just you know what the crazy thing, they're saying that these brain cells have a self-learning capability where the biological neurons adapt intuitively. That's crazy. It adapts intuitively now, learn from experience using reward-based feedback like dopamine. So they're feeding these cells dopamine and required significantly less training data than a traditional AI. And keeping them alive, because there are no blood vessels in these mini brains to supply nutrients, keeping the cells alive on a chip is extremely difficult, like what the mind was talking about. Current organoids typically survive for only a few months before dying. And the ethical concerns, they say, using living computers made from human neurons raises ongoing bioethical discussions about the potential for consciousness though there is currently no evidence that lab-grown brain tissue possesses any awareness. This is like coming into some ex machina, Frankenstein, Matrix. They live. This has got a lot of stuff in Gattaca. Yeah, and it says, oh my goodness, they have ethical debates surrounding this technology, and now they want to use it for medical drug discovery. The drug industry is always, I mean, these dudes just, I don't even know what to say about them. That is crazy.
I mean, they can have all the ethical debates they want, but China's going to go through with it anyway. These other countries.
Yeah. It just, and I can imagine. They say that the 6-year-olds in China are learning the AI and stuff. It's like you can't get away from it. They got these girls they do art, and they're very much against the AI. And I was just like, I hear what you're saying, but it's here. You're not getting around it. If you want to do regular art, great. That's great. But I mean,
Hollywood's up in a tear right now. They're so angry because some new movie's coming out that cost $2,000 to build, and it's all AI generated, but they look like real people. They look like actors, but it's all computerized. It's all AI.
Yeah.
I would think for movie making, it's just going to help. They're still going to employ actors, but the music industry, because it's held up on different kinds of stilts, is going to be what suffers the most, I think. And
But why do they need actors? Why would they need real actors? I mean, the AI can produce something that looks just like a regular
because
human.
people do want to idolize real humans.
Yeah, well, I think if they have the real actors, right, it makes it a lot easier because the real actors could do their scenes, but like they said that the scene from the Marvel comics where Thanos snaps his fingers and then people start turning to dust, they start like just you see them crumble as if they were dust. That scene cost like a couple of million and 6 months. They said AI made it for like under like $100 or $200 in 9 days.
There you go.
So
yeah, but that's because the scene was already made and it was piggybacking off of something that was already made. So I mean that's a part of it too.
yeah, that's part of it.
And the people that are using AI too, it's just like making a cake. It's like you can't just punch in something and hope it comes out unless you have a really low bar.
Yeah. You see, the thing is with the fact that all they need to do is say, okay, we're going to take the picture of this person or the video frame still. And now, like AI now is powerful enough to do it just from the picture and say, okay, make this character here fade away into dust.
Right.
So it can take it from the point of the real actor.
True.
Okay, in position. All right, stand here. Now cut. Now take that frame and then make it look like he snapped.
Now it can, but the problem is, okay, the compute and having 10 to a dozen people do that at the same time with a slight different, because you if you don't provide which direction it's moving, what it does afterwards, the character, it might not do something you want. So you're going to do a lot of takeovers and shoot overs. Exactly. And the problem is this stuff costs credits and stuff, and you're going to get a 3 to 5 second piece to be able to use, or you're going to do CDance or VO or one of the other ones and try to get a longer shot. But the problem with the longer shot, they cost 85 to 125 credits, and this is real money. And what happens is if it's
compared to what Hollywood spends.
But if it screws up, you got to do it again. All of a sudden, it shows a real golf club in your cartoon. It shows your cartoon people turn into a real actor, and you're like, I don't want that to happen, but it burps up that stuff.
I do want to add on though. You could get all this stuff for free offline. It's just more convenient, so people pay for the convenience. But literally, all this stuff is actually all free. It is all offline. We're despite what they might tell you, and it is all free.
But wouldn't Hollywood?
You're not going to burn 2,000 credits a day for free, though. You're going to do some renders.
Wouldn't Hollywood have their own?
Yeah.
So where they don't have to, care about how much they got to buy, and then they can tweak it to where, like you were saying, when it does stuff that you don't want it to do, now you tweak it to say, okay, this, and this. I'm thinking, would it still be it would still be at least 50% or more effective than doing animation with a computer program, to
Yeah.
make it do
Yeah,
that.
but is it fun though? That's the thing. Like, is it satisfying? Is it beneficial for your
Doesn't matter.
soul?
Doesn't matter.
That's the most
Profit
For your,
loss.
No, that's the fact that it doesn't matter is so messed up, because think about what entertained you when you were 20, and now that you're in your 30s, not all of it, some stuff will still entertain you, but a lot of stuff that entertained you when you were younger, that's not really in your definition of fun anymore. Like, same thing with me. As people get older, you start to say there are some things that are fun that remain to be fun, but then there's other things that were fun that aren't fun anymore. So because you grow out of them, you say, you know what, that might not. Maybe I was using that as a distraction. Like video games to me, yeah, it's fun to an extent, but not the way I used to play them. Like
yeah,
to
that's what I was just thinking of video games.
yeah, so like there's certain things that change, and some, change. It's a good thing,
I
to
mean,
say,
I still play them, and I still think the same thing. Like, this is kind of a waste of time, and I wish I could make a game that was better. That's what I've been thinking
yeah,
since
like
I
if
was a
I
kid.
could make video games, I guess Unity is much more advanced now, but
Claude Opus or something you can make. It was something's about to come out. You can make whatever game you want with it. You're just gonna talk it out to that, and it's gonna help you make your game.
so if I could make a game, I would make, and I might use it eventually because I have a lot of drawn out stuff from games that we used to make back like about 10 years ago with Unity. And when I look at it now, it's probably so much easier because I had to work with the coder and say,
Yeah.
okay, I want the ship to go up and down and be a side scrolling shooter or something like that. So now you're saying that I could just talk to Claude and it can,
Oh
and
yeah, definitely.
all right, put in the
It,
picture you want the ship to look like, or put, I'd say, okay, when it fires the stuff, I want it to look like this. Here's a picture of that, or even just ask it to make the thing, and it could probably, I would.
yeah. Blender, literally, Blender had a new thing where an add-on where you could literally have a offline model interact with this 3D modeling game maker thing. It's called. I'm pretty sure you know what Blender is if you know it.
I've heard of Blender. Yeah, it's a 3D modeling program, right?
Yeah, it could definitely use that, and that can
But I'm
port
thinking an
into.
AI. Is there an AI strong enough to where I don't have to use Blender? It can use Blender for me, and I can say,
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, you talk to the AI and it
yeah,
will use
and it
Blender.
can do all of that stuff. So I don't even need to know how to use Blender, because
Yeah,
I was going to learn it, but I was lazy to learn Blender because my
yeah.
friend.
You don't need to know anything. It will start doing it. Literally, look up Blender
Yeah,
and Claude.
yeah. So
Hmm.
that I could deal with, and I would like to make games where I like to play them, but as I play them, I make them to learn, to say, okay, with this game, after I play it, if I can finish the objective, knowing, but not fully like knowing, you learn. So, like if you're playing a game, and let's just say one instance is a map. So you're learning, say, a map of Manhattan, and the game is in, you're playing the game and you have objectives to take packages over here, go to this building. You learn an actual real thing in life.
Yeah.
Okay, I got a good one for you because literally, this is what I was thinking of making a game when I was in, like, I would say not preschool. What is it called? Not kindergarten, elementary. Uh, in elementary school, we had a program. It was a game where you basically have pipes, you have water, and then you have to put the water in the right uh, place. And there's just like different pipes and stuff. And I was like, this is pretty cool. Like, this is kind of like plumbing, learning how to do plumbing a little bit. And I was like, I wish we had this for a more advanced electrical version because there was like you put the battery to the circuit. Like they did show you a little bit of circuitry, but it wasn't too advanced. And I was just always wishing that there was a more advanced program where you learn how to do electrical engineering and you could do some experiments virtually, and it's like correlates to real world cause and effects of how electricity works. But we don't have that. I don't know why. They're just like, you want to learn about electricity, you gotta learn hands on, and then you just get shocked. You start getting shocked and you die.
Yeah, and matter of fact, it prevents you from wanting to learn it, like being afraid of getting shocked, and just also teachers that suck, because
Yeah,
there's ways,
thank you.
yeah, for people to teach us easily, but
I think
you know,
AI would be a better teacher than the teachers we ever experienced.
yeah,
Or
exactly,
or a good game. Like, it doesn't need to be AI, but the right information presented the right way, we could learn. If there's somebody
yeah,
willing to learn, we could build it. But yeah,
I
AI would help with that.
yeah, I would like to use it to do something like that, like with, say, things on the human body, uh brain cells, like we were just talking about, like maybe say, look, I want to make a thing where when you play this game, by the time you play it for 15 minutes, you learn all the different types of brain cells, or you learn the parts
Imagine
of
if you
the
could be
brain.
an AI surgeon, MD, an AI surgeon, just
Yeah.
put some head goggles on and do a surgery.
Yes, exactly. And I would think that there are simulations like that, like
Hmm.
um to show people like, hey, you can learn, because geography, I used to do that with paper and see, okay, how many countries can I name in like 45 minutes? Because it takes about 45 minutes to almost an hour to write down 190, I think it's like 193, 195 countries, if you can get all of them. I've never gotten all. I think I've gotten like 194 or something, like right under, like, the full amount. But when you start off, usually people get like 60 to 80, sometimes 100, even 120 or 150. Then you look at the map and you start to say, okay, I missed 150, so I'm still missing like 40 something countries. And then you realize, oh, okay, Luxembourg, and like, what's that other one, that Monaco, it's very small. You're looking at stuff like a couple of miles, like Vatican City. It's like the smallest country in the world. Um,
Mm.
so when you write it down and then you go back and you check, then you start to say, oh, okay, these are the ones I missed. I missed all of these Pacific Islands. I forgot to put New Zealand, stuff like that. But I would work with the Americas because, if you look at North America, you got three countries: Canada, US, Mexico. And then you look at Central America, you got seven. So you go from Mexico. In Mexico, you also have Belize, which is a very small country on the eastern part of Mexico. So you have Belize, and then you have Guatemala, Honduras, and then I think it's El Salvador, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, and Panama. So that's central. So you got seven plus three from North America, that's 10. And then South has 12. So you have, your 12 to that. So now you have 22 countries. So now you'd say, okay, the Americas are taken care of. So now you say, okay, let me see how many I could name in Africa, which is around, like, I think it's 54, 55 different countries. And then Western Asia or Europe, which has about another 47 to 50 countries. Middle Asia, going over to China, uh, you got like, maybe about another 30, because you're looking at all of the,
All the stands, all the
yeah,
stands.
yeah, the Turkmenistan, the Tajikistan, the Uzbekistan, and Kazakhstan is another one. But then there's some that aren't recognized, like Dagestan, I think, and then you have Pakistan, Afghanistan, you got India, Bangladesh. Kashmir is still not considered some, because there's so much fighting over. It's really part of India, but Pakistan is, kind of nutcase. Uh,
Yeah.
so is Afghanistan, Bangladesh, uh, Myanmar, and Burma. Always back and forth between, it's either going to be called Myanmar or it's going to
Hmm.
be called Burma, just like Congo.
Sri Lanka.
Yeah, Sri Lanka. That's another. So you have, when you start to name these, this was the beginning of saying, okay, now you're learning places on the world, and the next step would be to learn the capitals. So now you say, okay, the capital of America is Washington, D.C. I forgot Canada. I don't know if it's.
What is Canada? Was it Alberta? Oh, geez,
I want to say Alberta,
yeah,
but I think that's a province. I'm thinking.
I'm sure it is. I just came to the top of my head.
Capital of Canada, and that's the beautiful thing. Ottawa. That's what it is.
Iowa.
Ottawa, Canada. And that's the beautiful thing I used to love with the geography game I used to make, and say, okay, I'm going to learn all of this. And then, like England, I think is London. I wonder if, because that's the capital of England, but what would the UK? London is all okay. So London is the largest city in the United Kingdom, but then there's capital cities like Scotland is Edinburgh, and Wales is Cardiff, and then North Ireland is Belfast, and then of course the capital of Ireland, I think, is Dublin, or Dublin, as they say, and so yeah, that would be the next level, and then the next level is learning like the rivers, the roads, stuff like that.
You know how? Okay,
Also
you know what?
topography too. That's interesting.
I want to add something to this real quick. You know how this could be gamified by making this like a survival, like a zombie survival game. You need to know these things. Like these would be critical points in the game where it's just like, look, if you don't know this thing, then you're basically screwed.
Yeah,
You need to know these things. You need to know where the rivers are at. You need to know the names of the capitals, because like there's these special bunkers, or like it would just be these dopamine hits whenever you get to this specific information. It's just like, okay, I'm glad I know this, and this is very interesting. Like this is crazy that this is happening, and it's just like this attachment. I
AI
forgot what it's called when you learn.
geography. AI strip geography. Have like the hot AI girl take off a patch of clothes.
But now, say I was going to tell AI, look, I want to. You remember the Raspberry Pi 3 and the T92, those little units that you could put like, it had like, I think, a gig of RAM, and you could put like a couple of video games on it. But it maybe, even if it needs to be like a laptop, maybe a $400 laptop or something, where it probably wouldn't need something that powerful, but like if the AI were to make it and say, okay, I want you to make a game where I can go through, say, just Manhattan, unless it can do more, because I know more would probably take a lot of memory, whatever, and say, okay, I want you to, because the more detail, I guess, the more memory. So it's like, okay, I want you to do all the streets and the buildings. So now I can learn every part of it, and which is not really that hard because it's just straightforward. But what would that take? Like I'd have to find out, like, okay, if I put this
Google Maps
computer to play it, how much? What do I need? What are the specs? Like, do I need so much RAM? How much memory? It shouldn't take that much memory, I'm thinking, unless it's like 3D graphics. So it'd be like, okay, the file for the video game is like what, 10 gigs, 20 gigs, or even is it even that big? Is it bigger? And then what do I need to run it? What type of CPU if I want to play it? Say I wanted to take this and plug in a big HDMI screen to it. Can I play it like that? And then hook up, like, what controllers options would I have? Stuff like that, yeah.
they're porting games onto actual like Nintendo 64 cartridges, and running them natively on the Nintendo 64. So literally, you could make a game for any system you want.
Onto a cartridge.
Really? What?
Port it onto like a cartridge, or like I would figure a flash drive. I could port it onto like a 500 gigabyte flash drive.
Yeah, well, I was saying, like, if you wanted to run on like a Nintendo 64, you could literally get the software and the hardware to.
Yeah, I figured just to, Yeah, I wouldn't even buy with all the technology we have. Be better off just getting a regular laptop or something to run it from, and just say, all right, now this will hook up to a big screen. The other USB will hook up to the controllers, and then maybe, if I was going to make it to where people could pay to play it, one of the USB ports would hook up to what I would think would be a card reader, either a card reader or some type of scanner that they could scan in, and that would open up the menu to play the game, you know.
Yeah, that's a good idea. You have some good ideas. We're gonna have to talk one day about
Yeah,
like.
definitely. Yeah, I got the email. So yeah, if you want, just write me. I remember, I think I wrote you back, right? Let you know.
Maybe I need to check my email again.
Yeah, but yeah, I definitely, man, because I want to make some games. Now that cannabis is legal in New York City, a friend of mine, he's got a lounge, and I go, look, we should put some video games in there, but we need to make it something that's very interesting to where people will play. And the main thing is to have the little card reader to where it's like, okay, if you want to play, $10 worth of games, you put it on the card. Now, every time you swipe it, it'll give you more credits. You can play or you can save whatever you want to save on the card. And I told them if we make a good few units, now stuff is a lot cheaper too, because you can get a 65-inch screen for like $300, $400, probably even cheaper. And the controller would be probably like $100. I'm thinking if it's like a joystick with like a button or something, or a couple of buttons. That's the only thing I would have to be like, okay, let's see how much those units would cost. So it's the screen, the controller, the laptop or the device that's going to hold the game, and then of course the power supply would be coming from that, and the scanning device, the hookup for the card scanner. And I
Okay,
think those have dropped. I think they used to be like 2 grand. I think they're down to like $300. You probably get them cheap.
MD, you know what I was thinking? I was thinking of making a similar like gaming system too, but what I was thinking was using just having a good controller and having everything inside the controller, and then having that like having a receiver. So, because most of the TVs we have now have a HDMI port, and you could literally connect a receiver to that and like play video games with your controller, like you said, like make a Raspberry Pi and then have that
Yeah,
game just beamed into a TV, because we have TVs
exactly.
everywhere. So that's what I was thinking. That would be a real easy portable gaming system where you just all you need is a screen and everything is
Yeah.
in your controller.
Yeah, you plug it in to the HDMI, and then the little. Well, my friend, the Raspberry Pi, I think I still have it, the Raspberry Pi 3, but it's very touchy. Then he had a unit that was a little bit more powerful, a T92. I think I still have that one. And I think it only had two USB ports. But if you put, it had one HDMI, and then it had the power supply. So if even if I can't find something like that, which I would think that there's much more things, it's probably way more advanced now. I'm thinking,
Yeah, it has to be.
yeah, to that guy in a long time. But uh, if I could say, okay, I've got the AI game on this, I put double ports on the USBs to say, okay, HDMI goes to the screen, one USB goes to a controller, or maybe a double controller, so that's two. The third USB goes to the card reader, and the fourth USB, that's also, like it's good to have one extra. So it's to say, okay, the main thing is they can pay the money to swipe with the card reader, and they got the controller to play the game, and the screen is hooked up to the HDMI, and the power is hooked up to the supply. So everything is working there, and that unit, it could probably, I would think, would be under $600. It's just a matter, and I have like the games and stuff. There's not much to tweak, because the games, you don't want it to be some crazy stuff like, what they have, like the in-depth games. You want it to be a game. This is a game where you're having fun, but you're learning, like you were saying. If you're playing the zombie to escape, to get across the river, to get here. When you accomplish the thing, you don't realize like that you learned, oh yeah, that's this river, that's that street. That's so you say, wow, I learned and I had fun. So even like if it's a driving game, to say, okay, you got to get from this point to this point. And in driving, you're learning real life geography on how to get somewhere. And that could also be used for like parts of the body, different type of animals, to say, okay, this game you got to go around and you have to take pictures of or capture these type of animals, or you have to like study this thing and then come back and this is you have what you have to retrieve, but in retrieving that you learn what it is. So it's sort of like you go into Brazil to get this, so you go into the capital of Brazil to get this, so you learn not only what Brazil is, you learn the capital of Brazil. Most people know what Brazil is, but a lot of them don't know the other countries. Some people don't know Bolivia is a country, or they know Venezuela because of the war, but some of them might not know about like Guyana or Suriname, or some
You know
of
what else is fascinating too?
yeah.
I just imagine, because with the AI, the drone technology, and they're making some drones that are the size of insects.
Hmm.
It could be able to explore places that we've never seen, like say Sentinel Island. Everybody who's tried to go there has got an arrow shot at them and almost get
Hmm.
killed.
Yeah.
But drones could go in there and show you what's going on in there, and then we could see it in a virtual
Yeah.
world. Places that even bottoms of the ocean
Hmm.
or deep within the cave
Yeah.
systems,
Yeah.
go underground. We could find things there, and we could explore it virtually.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that's
that could be a
geography
part
on
of
a
the
whole.
game.
Yeah, it's a geography on a whole different level.
Yeah. Yeah. That could definitely be part. Yeah. So
Because we know there's cave systems that go deep into the ocean.
yeah, with AI,
Deep into the underground of the
yeah,
earth.
I could see, because what kept me from doing it was I'd always have to work with the coder, and it was just like it was uh it just was, it was tough to always line up schedules. Mark says Raspberry Pi 5 is a lot more. Wow, I didn't even know they had a Pi. I got three, haven't used it for about 10 years, but yeah, I figure if I could hold it on something like that. I remember paying like 80 or 90 bucks for the one that I bought, and that was back in like 2016, maybe 2017 I bought it. And the guy that hooked me up with it, it held every arcade game. Now I don't know, I think I hit a few buttons that might have messed up something on it, but he also had every Nintendo game, every Super Nintendo game, every Dreamcast, every N64 game was on there, which it doesn't really hold too much memory. But yeah, he definitely hooked it up with a lot of stuff on there. So I'm thinking if I'm just holding one decent 3D search through game to where you learn, or even if it's an entertainment game to where it's just a game where you have fun, and then you might learn a little bit of something, so it's not just a total entertainment, or maybe just have it to where it's total entertainment, because then it'll probably generate the most revenue in that thing.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be virtual. These
Yeah.
headsets are gonna start getting more and more
Oh yeah.
prevalent in our instead of the TV screen and everything like that. It's just gonna be
Oh yeah.
virtual.
Yeah, the glasses. People ain't gonna be. Yeah, it's. I would say 20 years. It's gonna be a whole, even less, because the rate that it's going. I mean, and then like you and I already know, we don't even know what these data centers are gonna be. I mean, like how
Yes.
Retro was saying, it could be Cybertron. It just, so I'm just.
That was a good description.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. He put a, yeah, that was a good description he gave, because it's sort of like saying, all right, maybe I could use the AI and do a few of these things, because I wasn't going to learn Unity. When I worked with my friend, he was really like an expert at it. So I could just be like, all right, here's the picture for the vehicle. Here's the sounds that, and he would show me the folders that it goes in. But then he'd lightly do coding to like make everything work smoothly and make sure, it didn't crash and stuff. But now with AI, it's like you were saying, I don't need to learn none of that. So the AI is the coder that I would be working with and probably on a much higher level and probably think of easier ways to do it. Because I
Yeah.
was telling him that if I make pictures that are 2-dimensional that look 3-dimensional, wouldn't that cut down on size, which could possibly allow the game to work quicker to where it wouldn't lag because you're using 2-dimensional graphics that have a 3-dimensional look to them, sort of like an illusion, you know, how you can make a 2D picture look 3D.
Mm.
So instead of using 3D generators, which take up more, I would think like CPU or RAM or something, this does it this way. But I never got that far to talk with him about it because he might have just been like, nah, you know, it's like the same thing, or, you know, because he knows more about the gaming. I was more of the creative and the graphics type of thing. But together we worked good on it. So I'm thinking I would like to do that because I still have a lot of prototypes that I didn't put in because I didn't understand, like, on Unity how to. I knew it from another program. You know, you have to mess with the gravity. It lets you create your own world. It's actually very, very fun. I really enjoy making video games. Scribe loves making games too. He's like, you know, he was telling me, but he's more into the game, like, you know, with all of the stuff, which takes forever. You know, I'm like, look, man, I want to be able to play the game while I'm still alive. You know, I said, if you're making some deep fantasy world, you know, exploration game, I said that could take a while, you know.
But not anymore, not with AI.
Yeah, with AI, it
Yeah.
could be quicker. It could.
Yeah, literally, they have this AI program where everything is generated on the fly. Like,
Mhm.
you turn left, and then you kind of like type what you want to see to the left of you, and it just starts happening
So
in real
kinda like
time while you're
something.
going. There's no loading or anything.
Yep.
Wow. Wow. See that? See, that's amazing, man. That's why I'm like, AI does have its perks. It definitely has its
It's
perks.
going to
But
take over whether you like it or not.
yeah,
There's
it's
no
here.
stopping
It's
it.
Be
here.
for
Yeah, ain't nobody.
It's
Yeah, yeah. So
permanent.
sorry.
Yeah.
yeah, you
Let's
might
say a
as well
lot of it's
just.
gonna be for. Damn it. Okay, I'm gonna stop.
No, no. Go ahead. Go ahead. What are you saying?
A lot of it's gonna be for brainwashing and for distractions. That's all.
Yeah.
Also, one last thing. I wanted for the game that I wanted to make. It was going to be called The Game, and I did want to have an actual emulator, like a actual computer, a virtual computer, so you could actually get some actual work done. Because yeah, that's it. I think productivity is the thing people care about, and if they could use find out like, hey, there's this video game that literally has Microsoft Word or whatever inside a virtual simulator. They would literally use that, play the game to use a virtual computer than an actual one if it was cheaper and more available, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I heard somebody made a computer in the game Minecraft, and it works.
Yep.
You know, so
Yep.
like you can, yeah. So it's like I'm thinking, like, even with all of this stuff with like the geography, the all of the pesticide stuff, the brain cells, all of that stuff can be put into a learning type game. And it could be fun. You know, it could be fun where people are like, hey, you know what, I really enjoyed playing that game. I you know, learned a lot. You know, I learned different areas that I would have never learned if I didn't play the game. So it's like two things in one because people ain't going to stop playing games, you know. You know, that's
But the type of games you're going to play is going to change.
yeah, yeah, you're right. Once they put the goggles on,
It's over.
yeah, yeah, it's going to be a tough one because I could see people just they are ready. People will just, I mean, they dedicate their lives to games, and that's okay. It's just to say, all right, you know, with AI, let's see, maybe.
They'll probably get so addicted that intravenous food or
Oh yeah,
nutrition,
yeah,
they'll
yeah,
start putting that in them.
yeah. I
Before you
think
know
there
it,
was
they'll just
guys, they used to play the game and just, you know, have their food there. They would, you know, one guy, I think he OD'd on playing the game, you know, for like,
that's Japan.
yeah,
Japan, right?
yeah. So it's
Yeah.
a lot of
We're
you
gonna
know,
willingly go into the pod. We're gonna willingly
yeah, yeah.
pod. That's what I see.
Yes, willingly. Yeah, just in having personalized, stylized pods, you know.
And we'll love it too. We'll love it.
Yeah, people, I definitely could see that, man. I could
Just think
definitely.
about it. The real world, is it really that great? Well, most people, it's not. The pod is going to be so much better for them.
It's just hopefully. I mean, hopefully, there's still some of the real world to enjoy. I guess we're moving kind of into the Blade Runner type of thing, but yeah, I guess we'll see what happens. Just but yeah, it's yeah, about 12:30 if anything. I'll stream tonight, Monday, see what's up. But yeah, I appreciate you guys coming on, man. Everybody in the chat, man. Yeah, well, Christopher, good to see you, brother. Always a pleasure, man. Yeah, Mark, man, thanks for the advice, and Timbo and Mr. X and everybody else, White Heat, The Mind, Mr. X, Retro, definitely. Yeah, you guys take care and have a great night.
Have a great night. Thanks, everyone.